Hey Skyfarers, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords podcast. I'm Lee, the Arcanine Admiral, joined by a couple of great other admirals today. You know him, you love him, co-host on the show, our thunderer from Down Under, Mr. Alexander Cron.
Hey.
And our special guest for today, fresh from a hot tournament win in Northern Ireland, it's Mr. Dave Kane.
Hello.
And thank you both for joining me. So how are you both? And have you been up to any warhammering recently, other than winning tournament?
Well, nothing since the tournament.
How about you, Con? You look like you're painting. Are you painting snake ladies?
No, I'm painting bird ladies. Everyone loves bird ladies.
Good old bats.
You traitor.
I got I got some of those profiteers recently. Haven't built them yet, but they're I'll do something with them eventually. Suppose I did my first battle report this week. With Cinderfall Gaming. Check it out if you want. It's on YouTube. Yeah, it was fun. Never did that before. Takes a while to record, but it's cool. We did the unique mission from the Kharadron Overlord book, the Profiteer. Is it Profiteers Down?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't played it.
I'll be honest. I haven't looked at it.
I just skip. Well, I do read a lot of the lore and stuff. But, when it comes to gaming, I mostly just stick to match play.
Prospectors Down. That's what it is. 2,500 points. Prospectors Down against Gloomspite kits.
Is that part of the mission to use 2,500 points, or did you just decide to?
Oh no, we just used 25. Oh.
You just want an excuse to play with two ironclads.
Double ironclad list, yeah.
Fair enough. And then, the only other thing, really, before we get stuck into things, is there is a little bit of news, but it's not KO related because it's dirty elf scum. So we all know that the only good elf is a dead elf. So that's all we need to say about that, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless either of you are triggered by the dice and want to talk about the dice.
No.
I think the dice speak for themselves.
I think we'll leave that to the elf players to dissect.
Dissect. How long have you been working on that one?
That was not intentional. Yeah, no. I'm just a repository of amazing puns. That's what I am.
Okay. Cool. Well, I love a good pun. So. Right. Well, let's get cracking and talk about what everyone is here to listen to, which is all about you, Dave. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you sort of got into KO. Did you come in with the new book or beforehand?
Literally bought them on release. So I was over at Warhammer World. When they first started releasing the pictures and you just seen all the boats coming out of the clouds, I was like, yes. So up to that stage, I've been using my def that I've been using since Fantasy. So a mixture of Tomb Kings and normal def. Haven't bought any of the new AOS stuff. So it was the first army I bought, and I just sort of kept going.
Cool.
Tomb Kings, nice.
They were.
Do you still have them?
Some. I got rid of a lot whenever we were buying a
house. They're rare on the internet now.
But my def's like mostly Greek inspired, so there's a lot of Tomb King bits sort of scattered.
Oh yeah.
So still alive.
Still kicking.
Still kicking. Blowing all those trumpets,
Had a lot of trumpets. But yeah, Kharadron Overlords, dwarves.
So you said you got into KO when they first released.
Yeah.
And have you? Well, I know you haven't stuck with them for the whole time, but did you? What did you play them for quite a long time when they first come out?
Yeah, it was. When they first came out on proper release, we were getting ready for the first Six Nations. So I had to finish painting off my deck for that. So I bought loads and built them, but I wasn't allowed to paint them. So sort of from when that finished, maybe for about a year, I was using them pretty consistently, and then it was back to death again for the Six Nations. and then FAQ after FAQ come out.
Yeah.
How many nerfs did it take for you to stop?
Oh, I was using them right up to the very end. So.
Okay.
Oh.
Consistent player like us then.
Not as much as I should have, but I was using them.
a true Dwarden. Cool. And then so the new book come out. How, as someone that played with the old book, how did you feel about it? Because for some people there was, I don't know, obviously a lot of people excited, but I know in WhatsApp and stuff, there was a few people that sort of didn't like it at first.
I opened it up and I thought it was brilliant. So it's because whenever I first bought them, I didn't buy the rules first. I just bought loads of stuff, and then opened the rules and was very disappointed by the boats. So when I opened the new book, it's how I thought they would have played to begin with. So less I'm gonna alpha you or die, and more I'm gonna skirmish, fly about, control the board, do loads of damage, but not all at once.
Yeah. So
as it should be.
Yeah. So because you had a tournament not the New Dawn tournament that we had talked about. You had a tournament.
I think it was 2 weeks afterwards.
Yeah, it was very soon.
Yeah.
It was this one, April Wars.
Yes, it was.
Which it must have been soon afterwards because they named the tournament after it.
Yeah, I think it was just after the FAQs.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't the list that most people probably tuned in to listen to, but I think it's important to talk about because
that's still my baseline. So whenever I look at lists, it's tweaking that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of similarities between this and the one you used in the final. So, I mean, I guess we'll talk about this one first.
I think that one's now 100 under on the nose after the changes. So you've got a bit of wiggle room there.
Yeah.
So you actually add another gun hauler into that then?
Yeah. Just about.
So for anyone on the podcast that can't see the screen share, the list is Barak, and it was 1970. It consisted of an admiral, 2 Endrin Masters on foot, one of which was the general, who has the Barak command trait. The other Endrin Master on foot has the Barak and then you have you had 1 unit of Argonaut Company, just 10 of them, 10 Thunderers with all rifles, 5 Thunderers with all rifles, which both of those are, of course, battle line. Yeah, because it's Barak.
It was 2 units of 10.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have got that wrong from somewhere. Well, that's why we have you here, to tell us all about the list. Because obviously I can't be trusted. I was watching, noticed on the last show we did on the screen share, every time we put up a new screen, I was like, spotting a typo or something. I was like, oh no.
Hopefully no one notices. Quick, keep scrolling up and down.
I was on another show also, I missed off a whole frigate. But anyway, so, and then you had 2 units of Endrin Riggers and 2 units of Sky Wardens, both all in trees. The Endrin Riggers with grapnel launchers and the Sky Wardens with volley cannons and drill cannons. And then a gun hauler and an ironclad with the buoyancy aid.
I mean, it looks like it's a little bit of everything, really.
Which if you had 2 to... I cut out again for a second, I think.
Yep, you're back.
Wait, am I cutting out again?
No, you're not.
No, I think it's just me. You're fine.
All right. It looks like it's you just put a little bit of everything in there.
Everything had its places. That one was mainly trying out how the riggers and the Sky Wardens would compare to each other. So personally, I prefer the Wardens over the 3 riggers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Riggers don't give much versatility to the list at all. They shoot, they do combat, they heal if they're within an inch, but I don't want them within an inch, so you don't really get to use much of that. They're predominantly screens or jumping ahead to capture objectives and stuff. So realistically, they only do combat or shoot. And even then, it's only 3 attacks for the sergeant. Whereas the wardens, you can have both special weapons and still 3 attacks. So I find they perform slightly better for me.
All right.
Which is why you'll see in the later lists there's no riggers, but there is still the 2 squads of Sky Wardens.
Interesting.
Did you ever find that the Sky Mines were ever useful?
Well, the way I explain it is, so say a unit of 12 eels charges you, and you somehow roll 3 mortal wounds. Well, there's an eel on 1 wound before they get the blast.
Yeah.
If they don't blast, you could potentially kill one with the bombs.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to deal with eels is battle shock.
Yeah.
So the more you kill, because you're not great in combat, so the more you kill, the better.
I guess one of the other key things to talk about in the list that I know people have asked about is the Admiral.
I love a good Admiral. So when I'm writing the list, he's the first thing that's put in every time. The main building blocks.
So why is that?
What does he do?
Yeah, so everyone talks about how he's rubbish. He has no real use, and that his command abilities are pointless. Now, most of them are. They're the same as the generic ones, only with extra restrictions. So I believe it's the reroll hits of 1 is only on the boat and only the one that he's in, whereas he can just give out reroll 1s. So it's not great. But it's the run and shoot.
Yep.
Massive. +1 to hit on your turn. Again, massive. Especially when you mix that yourself when you're hitting a hero, and I think it's a monster as well, where he rerolls 1s.
The repel borders?
Yeah.
And of course, when you put 2 Endrin Masters in the boat, that makes a big difference.
So that turns the Admiral to 2s and 2s.
And the Endrin Masters to 2s and 3s, yeah?
Yeah.
Hammer boat.
So, and then the Admiral's just flat 2 damage, so if he hits and wins, 6 damage. That's a 5-1 hero dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you start killing heroes, that's quite significant.
Yeah, when you're using gold, when you're outside of Urbaz, you're taking the -1 bravery. He gives you immune to battle shock. When he's in Ironclad, that bubbles quite big. It's hitting everything.
Yeah.
And then also there's a lot of splash mortal wounds flying about. So you see the likes of Croak and Prime. It's going right. I'll hit that point. And then everything in the boat takes it. So you've got a hero in there with an inbuilt 5-up. Nope.
Yeah.
And then 6 wounds. Helps too.
I guess one of my questions there is, you said the Battleship community bubble is really useful, but this list is Barak now, so you're getting that anyway, or all of your heroes?
So that's assuming they're in the same place.
Yeah.
And they both didn't get sniped out. So back to the likes of the Croak and Prime.
Yeah.
That Entry Master's dead if they both hit.
Right, okay.
So all they have to do is 5 mortal wounds and there's your battle shot gone. But when you put them both in the same place, you have the backup.
Yeah.
Contingencies.
Contingencies.
I don't have much choice with the second one.
And durability as well, because it's a bit more durable.
So in the boat, he's 2-up save -1 or -2 to hit.
I guess a question I'd have is, did you ever have problems with the amount of drops you have without a battalion?
No, so it was designed to be specifically to be super high. So when I used this list at Warlords, I basically was putting down the engine riggers, the Sky Wardens, the Arcanauts, and the Gun Hauler, and then their whole army was down.
Yeah.
So by that stage, you're like, right, or even after like the third unit they put down, you can see, right, they've put their screens there. There's a bubble there, so bridge is going there, or their heroes going there. Do I want to get hit by that? No, right, I'll go over there, and you sort of just, they don't know where you are, so they can't counter deploy you. And at the same time, if you screen well enough, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because even if they're deep strike or anything like that, you can keep them away.
Yeah. I mean, because like your Ironclad, you can basically just put in a corner somewhere.
Yeah, just put it where you want.
It can go wherever it wants.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
That's the main thing I like about Mornar is everyone's talking about picking the boat up and alpha striking it. First thing I would do is first drop would be the Ironclad in the most obnoxious place you can put it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wait for them to deploy and go right. Back to safety,
Sit
but you
there
drop
with those.
them out.
Yeah,
sit there with those 3 up-rollable saves and just.
I mean, even if you put it somewhere else in your deployment zone, because
just move it out of harm's way, but you've drawn their dangerous stuff out into a range that you can deal with.
And you can really keep hammering it because you put the boat down, and then you can put down, put a hero in the boat, and then you've got to put a hero in the boat, or else you can't do it. And then you can put another unit in the boat.
Yeah, you just keep putting stuff down.
Another hero in the boat, and then before you know it, you've done 4 or 5 drops, and you know where everything's going to be.
It's similar to the old trick in the old book where you put everything, you literally deploy the boat and go, right, you put your army down, then I'll redeploy.
Yeah. The only trouble with it in Mornar now is obviously you can't move the boat and get out of the boat.
Yeah.
So
can you get into the boat?
You can get into it, but then the boat can't move.
So what you can do is deploy the boat, and then not just place deploy everything elsewhere, and then fly high and get in.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things that I'm not entirely sure if the boat can fly high, because obviously it says you can't move.
So I might redeploy it, within range, and then get in.
Yeah, get in just so that protect.
Vice versa, the next turn or something like that. Yeah, you could probably work something out.
Yeah.
I believe it says you can't make a normal move if you do the Barak Mornar thing, and flying high is done instead of making a normal move. You kind of get stuck if you try it.
It's one of those things we need to
strong stance on that, but I'm sure Guy Percival could make an argument for the Hitson rule they made a couple of weeks back. Where they can hitch even though they don't have a move. So
yeah,
you could get around it. It'll be the Skaven FAQ all over again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with where you can do both basically.
Yeah. So you can't move, but you can still fly high, I suppose.
Yeah.
At Tio's discretion.
Yeah. Basically it's not guaranteed to work in every problem, is it?
Don't rely on it.
So we're back to this list. So when you were playing this list, you were deploying chaff essentially, and the gun hauler was included in that, and then you'd put your Ironclad down somewhere relatively safe.
Yeah. So with that, I went into each game knowing exactly what I was going to do, so I already had pictured in my head where everything was going. So I wasn't just throwing stuff down just to get a drop. So the likes of, say, you reverse like a change host who's going to teleport in your face. Work out, right, where's the scenery in my deployment, where can I use it? And then using the chaff to screen around different bits. So the likes of that sort of teleport, you can still screen out your 6 inches and have the boat still wholly within 6, so you're stopping them getting in. But if they survive, you can still hitch. And then reset up your screens, do it again next turn, and so on until they all die.
So, and then in your first sort of 1 or 2 turns, were you mostly then sort of playing from 18 inches away with the Thunderers, or were you going straight into the jugular?
Game by game. So when I played the Fire Slayer player at that one dare, he went first because he was that feared I was going to alpha strike him, and then he immediately used his move rune to get up the middle of the board. So at that stage, I went just straight in. But the likes of when I played Columns, Daughters of Cain, it was for first turn it was 24 inches away.
Yeah.
Just shooting with what I could shoot, and then letting him move a bit closer, and just sort of moving to the other side of the board. You do that for enough, and all of a sudden his witches were sort of spread out in a big conga line. And then when it gets to that stage, you can let him charge. He's only getting 5 or 6 witches attacking.
Yeah.
It's different when it's 40. Well,
yeah,
it's a lot of board control, so I determine where you go.
Because there's quite a lot of 24-inch range shots in there, actually. Cause,
yeah, that's where the Skywardens come in handy. They have 2 24 inches each.
Yeah. Yeah, six from the Ending Ringers and Skywardens, and then the ship and the Gunhorn have both got them as well.
Yeah, and as I said, you've got 5 turns to use them. You don't need to table them turn 1.
Yeah.
It's definitely a more skirmishy kind of. Looking at the long picture kind of list. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually play that attrition game with them.
Yeah.
As long as they just can't get to you.
Jump on half the objectives, skirmish, take what shots you can get, but still sort of keeping them arm's reach. Do that for the first couple of turns. They'll be maybe a couple of points above you, but by that stage, you've removed all the chaff. You've removed a couple of key pieces, and then by turn 3, you can just go straight in.
So when you're doing that, are you leaving the Thunderers in the Ironclad, or are you sort of dropping them off, like dropping off 10 in one turn on one, say like on objective, and then 10 on another turn? Or are you keeping them in the boat for quite a long time?
Again, it depends on the scenario, who I'm fighting, the player and the army, what their sort of tactics would be. But a lot of people look at the list and go, right, you've got 20 Thunders, you've got an Ironclad, you've got the Bowen Seed. So they're in there, that's an alpha list. So they look at that as that's all it does. So a lot of people don't realise that the Ironclad, if you jump 10 of those Thunderers out, with the Admiral in there, it's movement 16, it can still shoot. So when they do all the nice wee conga lines to stop the 9-inch fly high, and you just bomb it forward, all of a sudden heroes start dying.
There's a lot of psychological warfare in this list.
Yeah.
I like psychological.
It's all about I control what you do, not the other way about.
Yeah.
So you leave a big open gap, and they're like, right, I need to hold these 3 objectives because he holds 3. And then when they do that, you push one side of it. So you're safe from the other 2/3 of their army. You just have to do 1/3. So even if you fluff it, you're going to hit only 1/3 of an army instead of a full army. And then if they were to come across, then you just redeploy, hit the other side.
Yeah.
Just keep use every rule you have, not just 1 or 2.
So it's you're kind of almost sort of playing tennis, like switching from one side and the next to the other, just with yourself. And then they're just the ball just getting bad about.
Did you ever have did you ever have any issues that Tubman had where the opponent deathballed everything in one spot and just?
That's where you sit 24 inches away.
Yeah.
So if they deploy in one big spot, that if you go too close, you're going to get extremely punished. Still go close. Grab the objectives, because at the end of the day, even if they table you, if you're ahead in points, you still win.
Yeah. And that's why it's handy to have 12-inch moving 100-point units that can get onto the objectives.
Yeah.
And you don't care if they die that much.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because even if they do manage to be like movement 14 and get a 12-inch charge, you've still screened off with the riggers and wardens, so they're not getting over the top and into whatever's behind. So you can use them at whatever range, sort of to keep all the nasties away. And then if they do try and do that move, then you broke their. It's sort of like Blood Bowl caging, where once you get through the cage, that's it. It just falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as they make the move, then you just pounce.
Yeah. So
should we move? Should we put up the list that?
Yeah, there was just
The
one
list
other
that won.
thing I want to bring up about this list, which was that it was 1970, which I really like, and I know that you're quite keen on some of your other lists, is to have them quite low points.
Yeah, I'll take a triumph over an extra command point any day.
So, I mean, where do you normally use that extra triumph? It depends what you roll, obviously.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. So say you get reroll saves, it means at a key point you can use the reroll wounds on the Ironclad.
Yeah.
And then say like 2 turns later, all of a sudden, oops, something really nasty is getting here. We just go right, reroll saves. Or if you get reroll wounds, when you finally do pounce on them, both thunder units are reroll wounds.
Yeah.
And then everyone starts to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're going to use 1 per turn. It's like, yeah, but I can only use 1 gold, but I can use the triumph as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's stopping you from using the triumph.
Exactly.
And I guess that's actually really quite handy because you split the thunderers up. Obviously, then having that does mean that you can buff both in the same turn, so you can have that major turn if you want to.
Yeah, but also the 2 units of 10 gives you 2 more shots.
Yeah, true. And it's just more flexible.
Yeah. So I would say every game 10 get out at least once.
Yeah. So let's move on to the list that you use for. Oh, I guess we should actually explain how the tournament worked because it's not really very standard, is it?
Yeah. So this was the first event we ran here after quarantine started easing. So we have 28 tables in the club. And the club have been open since March normally, yeah. So instead of trying to fit 28 people in, we did 2 heats of 14. So you're only using, so there's a table empty between each table. So it was only you and the person you were playing with masks, and then blank table, and so on. So that's what they ran it over 2 weeks. So it was 1 week, and then the next week using the same scenarios, but 14 different people. And then it was the top 7 from both days played in the final. Now we had a couple of dropouts because we have a lot of the Irish guys come up, and they just went into lockdown after heat 2, but before the final, so they couldn't make it. And then there's a couple of guys weren't feeling well, so there was other people brought in.
So if you had wanted to, could you have played in both heats, or was it designed?
No, it was designed. So you picked 1 day.
Yeah.
And that's when you played in.
Was there much of, I'm not going to go to that day because so-and-so's going from, for some people, like, if they know people play certain lists and they don't want to come up against them, they're like trying to choose which day to go to or trying to figure out.
The days weren't published until after everyone had locked in. And our events usually sell out like within a couple of hours. So it was sort of just like, yeah, I'll pay, and then you're in this day, you're fighting this.
Yeah.
And then people have that many armies here, even though you know what they play, they could land with something completely different.
Yeah.
Chris Caves Jr. being an example. His qualifying list was the list we showed previously.
Oh yeah. So first of all, I want to say I love this list. It's boats. It's just boats. It's all the boats. Even the lays out.
Well, I think I'm back.
He's out.
Okay.
It's even it's even got the 6 honorary KO boats that should have totally been in our book but weren't.
So this is the first list I wrote when I opened the book. The only thing that annoyed me was, yeah, both represent.
it's all of them. It's every single KO boat. It's fantastic.
I'm still a bit salty they didn't give us an Ironclad hero.
Oh yeah, that would have been amazing.
So in my eyes, when you put an admiral in an Ironclad, it becomes an Ironclad hero.
An admiral.
Honorary.
So is only having one hero in this list just so you can get as many boats in as possible?
It was literally there because you have to have one.
Yeah.
Because as I said, no Ironclad hero.
Yeah.
So this was, as I said, the first event after lockdown ease. So none of us had, like, I'm a key worker, so me and the missus, we've been working all the way through. Loads of the other guys had been doing loads of hobby and getting loads of stuff done because they had nothing else to do. So whenever this was the first event, and it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after it first opened.
Mm-hmm.
And with me being a key worker, I was like, right, I'll sort of sit back. Don't want, people not going to the club because I'm there, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my first game in about 6 months. So I said to a few of the guys, I was like, right, Fluffy, we're going to take all boats.
Cool. And then you gave
I love that it worked.
Yes, well, bar Collins game, that was not great.
Okay, so you obviously wanted to have all boats. Was it kind of boats you had, or was it kind of a case of, right, I want boats to fill certain roles?
It was how many boats could I fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. So the Ironclad and the 2 frigates are mine. The second frigate, Iron Fist, or Stargazer, sorry, is converted. So the balloons are taken off the top.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Hurricane in the middle, and then the gun hauler balloon at the back.
Yeah.
And then a navigator standing on the deck. And then
is that been a Luminarch at some point then?
No, I just thought, look, cool. I don't like having duplicate models, so I never built the Taco one. I was like, right, I need to change this. Yeah. The 3 gun haulers, I have 3, but one of them's not painted.
Oh, did you bring an unpainted model to the tournament?
No, so I borrowed Collins, which was also unpainted. Which I didn't know. And then the Gyrocopters and the Gyro Bombers were also Collins, but the rest of it fine.
Yeah.
I think, walk us through the most striking feature of your list. Why is the Ironclad called Pie Smasher?
Why do you think it's called Pie Smasher?
Is it because it kills things on pie plate?
Right. So it's one of the guys in the team NI, Robbie Wright. He used to talk about pie smashing people. So the old KO dropped down, overkill 4 times over turn 1. So that we named it then. It's just sort of stuck.
So it's a reference to the clown car.
Yeah, it's been the mighty Pie Smasher ever since.
It's been the mighty Pie Smasher ever since it got painted. Yeah.
The clowns get out.
I have all these names translated to Dwarvish runes, so I will eventually freehand it onto this island, which is having around.
Nice, yes.
Awesome. That's really cool.
And then the admiral's there because you can't bring an armada and not bring an admiral.
Fair enough. So you went down the fun narrative route, but you still qualified. So it was obviously still worked. There's some choices here that you can see what you've done. So the admiral, your command trait and artifact are basically about keeping him alive.
Yeah, he's the only one there, and the artifacts and command traits of the admiral aren't great. So we'll just keep him around for a bit longer.
I mean, I think he's got some good choices. I mean, I would, when I have put him into this, it has been sometimes to take a specific artifact.
I like the old war wound that gives him. It gives you just an extra command point every turn, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just he's got if he stays in the Ironclad, he's got a 2-up save, and he's got what 8 wounds.
8 wounds.
8 wounds. Yeah. The problem with the 3 command point every turn is it says War Scroll command ability, which means he can only buff the Ironclad.
Yeah.
The old war wound.
Yeah, so I believe it's only command or War Scroll command abilities.
It is, yeah.
So that's the one that gives you a free. That gives you a free use of your command ability, but
the one that I like is the Rune of Mark, because you get extra Aether gold.
Yeah.
If you kill an enemy hero. Which
we were discussing it before, and then we realized I'm Barak Urbaz, so it wasn't the biggest thing.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, if you're Barak Urbaz, then you don't need more Aether gold. So yeah, fair enough. But yeah, because obviously you've got Barak Urbaz to make the gun hold battle line.
So it's a command trait. It's War Wound. Roll a dice for this general in your hero phase. On a 1, subtract 1 from hit rolls from this general until your next hero phase. On a 2+, you receive 1 command point.
So it's the one that's plus command points, not the use
command
ability.
The one that just gives you 2 command points a turn, essentially.
I think the other one we were thinking of is the Mascader, which is an artifact which lets you use a command ability on the War Scroll. The one,
that one's
would be terribly useful on that list.
So, how did the Gyrocopters and Gyrobombers do?
The Gyro Bombers, I would say, were probably MVP in that list. The Copters ended up just being screens a lot of the time. If I was to do it again, they would have took the steam guns off and put the brimstone guns, whatever they're called, on them, just for that extra bit of reach. But yeah, the Bombers, unbelievable every game. Definitely take them again.
The steam guns never exploded a big horde then?
Well, I didn't really fight any hordes by the skinks.
I mean, the thing
got about half the skink. One of the skink range or units got about half in range, so it wasn't killed about 15. Then I lost the Gyrocopters in return.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not going to hang around for long.
Crook was too close. You're in microwave range at that stage.
Yeah.
So what do the bombers do? Like, is it just the gun, or is it the bombs that do all the damage?
It's a mixture of both, and they have 12 wounds.
Huh. Wow. I mean, 12 wounds. That's what, more than a gun hauler?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's more than a gun hauler. They have 10.
They're just flying about.
Damn.
Sorry, is it 15 on them?
More
wins than a gun hauler. I know that.
The gun hauler has 10.
Yeah, I can't remember whether it's 4 on the Gyrocopters or 3.
The Gyro Bombers have 5, so in that unit.
So, it's 15 wins. Sorry, on the bomber unit.
Ah, right, yeah.
They can walk up. They can walk up the crook and make a mess and not die.
So you prefer them because they're more survivable than the copters?
They just did more damage as well. They were hitting from the actual range. The bombs are every turn, not once per game.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid to run them to get the bombs if I needed. Whereas the copters, you were sort of like, I want to shoot the steam gun.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens.
Yeah.
Because the only time they actually did any amount of shots was against Colin's Fire Slayers, and I think they killed 1.
That's not. Is it? Let's talk about the list that you face. So, I've got one. We'll skip ahead to the list you face and we'll circle back to the list you used for the finals. So, the first game you played was against Skaven time. I'm not going to bother reading out the list. I can't be bothered.
60 clan rats.
Yeah.
Screaming Bell, Warblock Bombardiers, Stormfiends.
Pretty standard.
and lots of.
Wait, he's using the Kharadron Overlords endless spell. He can't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't have a ship to deliver it.
Yeah, that I don't understand.
Register in my mind. KO can't use magic in my eyes.
It's not magic, it's science. Science.
It's just something that we bottled.
Yeah. So in this one, this comes down to, as I always say, deployment's the most important part of the game.
So you played Total Conquest.
Yeah.
So first of all, before you deployed, was there anything that you identified in his list as right? Well, that's got to die, or I've got to avoid that.
Well, Stormfiends had to die because if they get within range, they're going to make a mess.
Yeah.
He started deploying first.
Mm-hmm.
He took the top left-hand corner. I took the bottom right. There was quite a lot of scenery in the way, so I was able to go right back into the corner and then screen off with the copters and gun haulers.
Yep.
So that if he did try and bridge, he wasn't getting anywhere close, and then I could just pounce on them by themselves.
So, what was it? Did you put the gun hauler in the middle, and then and bombers on one side? Each?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the closest he could get, I think, was 20 inches away from the Ironclad, something like that, because it was right in the corner.
Yeah.
And then the frigates were right beside it as well. But yeah, so he was that afraid of getting alphaed with all the guns. He deployed really far back and didn't leave room for the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So
was that a mistake, or did he just not think about it, or?
But no, I didn't. I jumped on it. So so he had the sort of front and center, the Stormfiends, and then he had the clan rats.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had all the heroes around his null holes and stuff. So the one he put in my deployment, I was standing on top of.
Yeah, so he
wasn't. And then the rest, one was the far left and one was the far right. So they weren't really within range. He tried to skitter leap turn one, and he failed all spells turn one, pretty much. And then on mine, I sent a frigate and a gun hauler to the far right, a frigate and a gun hauler to the far left. Then the Ironclad and the gun hauler sort of middle left, and then the copters and bombers just went straight in. So at that stage, my secondary was 3 units had to fail battle shock in one turn. So he had pushed 2 of the units out of battle shock range, but the third one was in, so I didn't want to kill them. So it was sort of just splash of damage to the clan rats without actually killing them. And then the rest of the shots were into the Screaming Bell and the Stormfiends. So normally I would have left the Screaming Bell alone because I don't really care about it, but I needed the battle shock unit gone.
Yeah.
So had he pushed his clan rats forwards towards any of the objectives? Or?
Yeah, so it capped the one in his deployment and the one to the right.
Yeah.
But then my gyrocopters took it off him.
Right. So you
killed
enough.
Yes, he only had one in range.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, that is it too.
He didn't want me getting closer to the Stormfiend, so he took him off, and then my copters were all in range of it. So as I held 3 bar his home objective, and his turn 1 he held 2.
Okay. So they're not trying to completely destroy the clan rats thing didn't stop you capturing the objectives.
Alive, yeah. And then something to add there was he had a hero within range of his home objective.
Yeah.
And I had a hero in range of my home objective.
Yeah. So you're both getting the extra VP.
Both getting the extra one, yeah.
So did you sort of, with having this mission first, did that kind of make you wish, I wish I had more heroes in my list?
Not really, because I knew that if he was using his heroes to try and cap more objectives, then I could just snipe them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. It's actually a plus side. Yeah, he'll go 3 points up turn 1, but that's it. Then he's getting no additional points, and then I'm just scoring 1 extra every turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you could use that to your advantage.
Okay. So you scored all the bottom, like yours and the two sort of that aren't in.
I scored 3 of them. I got the additional one. He scored 2. Got the additional one.
Yeah.
He won priority.
Mm-hmm.
Killed the Gyrocopters, and he done about 6 or 7 wounds to a gun hauler, but kept them all out of range of the Storm Fiends because he was still blocked in by the clan rats because he wanted to screen them off, and it also hampered them in. So in my turn 2, I shot the bell off. I think I had 5 wounds left. The rest of my shooting was straight into the Storm Fiends, and then my entire army just charged, dropping bombs.
Yeah.
Making sure not to splash my attacks. Everything multi-charge, so if, say, the clan rats were down to 1 model, don't attack them.
Yeah.
So I end up getting that secondary in the second turn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because all 3 clan rats ran, and the Storm Fiends ran as well.
Nice.
Yeah, because you could damage to so many different units, then even without the normal Battleshock community that he would have, then it's just too much to do with inspiring presence if you've got multiple units potentially running.
Yeah, because it still, as 2 Warp Seers were still on the Null. He hadn't moved them off.
Right.
And
so they're out of range of most of the units.
And the bell was the general, so you only have the 6-inch range.
Yeah.
So nothing was getting the command points. So I think turn 3, it had the 2 Warseers and Thankful left.
Ouch. So pretty decisive after that, yeah.
He just conceded there then.
Yeah.
Because I won priority as well, so
yeah. Okay. So
I told him he could have it because it made no difference. But
so in this game, which units did you give the extra Aether gold from the Barak Urbaz ability?
So just a standard. First one goes to the Ironclad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that every game? Yeah.
Every game. If I roll 1, it's straight in the Ironclad. Mm-hmm. Everything after that is on gun haulers.
Okay. What is there a reason why you choose the gun haulers over, say, the frigates?
Frigates.
So I don't rate frigates at all. Frigates are just overcosted gun haulers without all the bonuses.
Yeah.
So the gun hauler with the 18-inch move, and charge is just unbelievable. I use them very offensively, so they're constantly in combat and charging things for no reason.
Yeah.
Just drop bombs and reroll saves, keep them out of the shooting phase for a turn, and then fly high, hit somewhere else, just keep rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Because unlike the frigate, you have to kill it. Otherwise, you're not stopping anything. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
So the frigates, you sort of hold back more reserved. And then they also give out the shrug save as well, so you kind of want them sticking around.
Yeah. So what are you using the gold for on the frigate? Is it offensive use, like on hits or wounds, or defensive?
It depends. If I need to reroll the wounds, say I'm like -1 to wound or something for Hearts and Slayers, then I'll probably use it there. But I would say the majority of the time on boats, it saves.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keeps them alive that extra turn.
Just means you can throw the iron into something and take maybe 5 damage. You're like, right, I'll heal one of them, and then I'll just fuck off.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like that game was relatively straightforward for you then.
Yeah, it was over in about half an hour. Common occurrence in my games.
Okay. So before
I move on, for most KO at this point, I think we're getting that way.
Doesn't matter what army I use. The guys here keep me going.
Ah.
So let's move on. Your next game was against Seraphon, which was a Fangs of Sotrok list with Croak and Gotrek.
So this was a fluffy. I've been told by Stephen because it has Gotrek.
That does not make a list fluffy.
Well,
maybe it's like a dwarf list.
well, I will say on that list, Gotrek was completely pointless.
Right, because he couldn't get into combat, I assume.
I just give him 11.5-inch charge every turn and just let him around the board.
Yeah.
He did absolutely not. So with this list, it was focal points was the scenario.
Yep.
So before the game, or before the tournament, Stephen had been making fun of me by submitting the list without reading the tournament pack.
Okay.
And then on the day, I realised he submitted the list without reading the scenarios. So focal points, you score extra points if a behemoth or a monster is within 6 inches of an objective.
Yeah.
Which
oh no!
I
see the problem.
3.
Yeah.
So I had 2 frigates and an ironclad.
Yeah.
So you're getting all the extra points.
Yeah. And he hasn't got any.
But
key thing to note is the ironclad's base is big enough to fit one of the side ones and the middle, so you're scoring both.
Yes.
So if he hits both of them, you're getting the points for holding them, and you're getting 2 additional points.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you would.
So it's his base size, Nagash, Archeon, things like that. Anything smaller than Ironclad's base can't do it. I think Great Unclean ones can. I need to measure that.
I wonder if the frigate can do it. I was just trying to look in my cabinet.
No, the Ironclad's just about the right size.
Yeah.
So it's not quite long enough.
No.
Yeah, so like the first turn I was scoring 2 additional points.
Yeah.
Just off the bat. There was a lot of skirmishing going on that game, so I was out of Croak's microwave range because he was in the scenery piece.
Yeah. Where did he put that? Was that in the middle or on one side? Or?
Right between objective 1 and 2.
Yep.
It was about 12 inches long.
And Croak was inside the scenery piece, rather.
He was inside it with a unit, and the Saurus guard was out the back where I couldn't see them.
Yeah.
So he was getting the -2 to hit, +1 save, and then the shrug off save onto them.
Yeah. And then his own shrug off save as well.
Yeah. So I just ignored him.
Yeah.
So because I was scoring more points every turn, I didn't have to come past the midline. So he teleported the Skinks forward, fully buffed up, fought the Ironclad, took the Ironclad down to about, I think it was 3 or 4 wounds.
Oh.
Mortal wounds, can't really do much about it.
Yeah.
But then the Ironclad had Breath of Morgrim. So Breath of Morgrim and Shooting Phase took that 40-man unit of Skinks down to about, I think it was about 12 or 14, can't remember.
Yep.
Croak had killed the Admiral at that stage.
Yeah.
He killed him turn 1. So in my turn, I had to charge the Ironclad into the Skinks because they were between objective 5 and 3. If I had got the charge off, I would have scored the two additional points for 5 and 4, but he killed me on the Overwatch. It was just a Hail Mary to get the extra points. Sort of by the end of turn 3, because my copters and all were flying around and everything else was flying high, skirmishing as normal. They weren't really taking much damage, but they were doing quite a lot. So it was by about, I think it was turn 3, he had Croak from his main army and Gotrek. The rest were summoned.
Yeah. Right.
Did he try summoning some behemoths? Like the...
Oh, because I was deleting that much stuff, he had to keep summoning Skinks out.
Right.
Oh, right.
Just for board presence, stop me from teleporting places and capture objectives as his own. Finally dealt with Croak by flying the bombers over him. Then charging him with 3 gun haulers on a frigate.
Wow.
So you're doing quite a lot of mortal wounds there.
Yeah, just dropping bombs.
Yeah, and at that stage the guard were dead.
Yeah.
So he only had his base because he got out turn 2 onto a Balewind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was simply the extra score and won that game.
So it sounds like it was still relatively close, though. Did you win it by much?
I was 1 point ahead at the end of the game.
Okay. So if you hadn't had Behemoth, you would have lost the game.
Yeah.
And that's why vote lists.
Yeah. And so did you get extra points from the frigates as well? Well,
Yeah, because they're both behemoths.
Yeah, it's just one.
They were jumping between objective 4, 3, and 1.
So if you'd been, I mean, obviously you wouldn't have been able to beat Dolphin because you wouldn't have had any battle. Like, but if you had, then depending on how the TO ruled it, you might not have even got the extra points from the frigates.
Yeah. Because they lose behemoth to give battle and like that.
Yeah.
Bad rule.
Yeah.
Vote lists, stick with Urbaz.
Yeah, don't go with the boat.
I believe it drops like 170 points.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because the other thing was that this was the way the tournament fell was the heats were both heats before the points dropped.
No, so this was heat 1. Heat 1 was the Sunday, and I think the points were dropped on the Monday.
Right.
And then the following week was heat 2, but we used the same. Everything was submitted before heat 1.
Yeah.
And that's why the lists are different for the final, because it was to make way for FAQs or points changes and stuff like that.
Okay. So both heats were using the old point then. So this list, this list is how many points did you say it was cheaper?
I think it's 170. No, I think it's just 170 points under.
Right.
So I can't remember off the top of my head. It's something like that. But it's at least an Oregon Hammer.
Yeah. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
And what were your secondaries on here? Do you?
I can't remember on that one.
No.
We used all 18.
Fair enough.
I remember I got them.
Yeah. Let's move on then. So next you were up against Fireside. You mentioned a couple of times.
Dwarf Civil War.
So this one was an auto lose from the start. He went into this game thinking I was going to win, and I just looked at it and goes, I'm not even going to bother with the main objective.
Mm-hmm.
It's Blade Edge, I think it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, so this one I'm completely out-dropped. There's 30 Hearthguard in there. Turn 1, he just ran forward and capped 5 of the objectives.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. And then every turn, an objective is removed.
So did he make you go first, or did he go first?
As I said, he thought I was going to do well in this one for some reason. So he took priority to get his buffs up, get the objectives, and just sort of camp.
Yeah.
Which I knew he would do. Because shooting Hearthguard Berserkers with a 2-up save is completely different than shooting them with a 5-up save. So he went first, captured the 5.
Yeah.
And then pretty much ended turn.
Yeah. So did you manage to shift many in your first turn?
I think I killed 7 out of the 21.
Right.
Which wasn't bad
Yeah.
goal. As I said, the Gyrocopters got in full range and killed 1.
Yeah.
Because he popped the nugget as well, so he was sitting on a 2-up save.
It's just, they're a brick. The fire saves are a brick. You just have to smash your head against.
If you see 20 Hearthguard, boats aren't killing them.
Yeah. And he had the runic firewall as well. So was he keeping his heroes within range of it?
If I remember correctly, he failed at turn 1.
Right. Okay.
Not that it made a difference, because the heroes weren't the problem in that scenario.
Right. So then, who won priority?
I won priority into turn 2, but again, I was just playing the secondaries.
Yeah.
So we basically got 2 secondaries, or picked 3 secondaries each before the game. Your opponent vetoes one of them, so says, no, I don't want you to use that one.
Yeah.
And then the third secondary objective was kill 1,000 points. So under the new 20-0 system that we were using in all the heats and the finals, it was major win is 14 points, and then 6 of the points is secondary. So it's scoring your 3 gets you 3 points, and denying your opponent's 3 gets you 3 points.
Yeah.
So I just didn't even bother with the main mission. I just went straight for kill as much as possible, keep as much alive, and then hit the other 2 and stop him from getting his.
Yeah.
So I think his was, I think he had to kill my admiral with a hero in combat.
Yeah.
And I think it was kill a boat with a battle line. I can't remember, but he didn't get either of them. I know that.
Yeah, I guess it was relatively simple to keep the admiral away from the his hero with fly high. And yeah, Farsight is not exactly renowned for being fast.
Well, he had the 3 magma drops, so he was pretty quick.
Oh, did he? Yeah, true.
Did you manage to kill those at least?
Look at the list much.
I just left them alone.
All right.
Turned a frigate up in the top right hand corner, and all 3 of them went after it. Left it. Oh, I think it was 1 wound. That was squeaky.
So the interesting thing about this battle plan, though, is that the removing the objectives is optional.
It is.
Yeah.
So, was there any part of you that thought, well, if I don't, I mean, did you take the turn after the priority or not, or did you?
So he was giving me priority.
I mean,
he could remove the objectives.
Oh, so it was his choice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd won the priority. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I went first, as in. So he was like, "I won."
Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
he had me from the get go. There was no, because the one he got rid of was the one he didn't hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from I scored 1 point to right. There's 5 left, and he's standing on them.
Yeah.
You run this year. I can't tick them off, but he could tick me off in 1 turn.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is not even hard.
I think, I mean, this mission is always going to be tough against something that can just camp on the objective.
Yeah.
If it's something that you have a bit of a chance against, but it's tough.
If I had the final list, I play Collins Fire Slaves all the time. It's always super close, but Thunders make a mess when it comes to Hearthguard. Throw enough mud at the wall.
Yeah.
That's where you get moved, and then you use the -2 to hit.
Yeah, but I think the priority was really key. Because
so
if you're behind on points,
you're wanting the first turn, but you can't afford to give it away. You can't afford to tick it because your opponent will just lift the one you're going to tick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I really like it as an objective.
Yeah. The more you need, if you're behind on points, you've got to keep the objectives on the table.
Yeah. Same sort of thing as Relocation Orb last edition.
Yeah.
So if you make your opponent go first, he's scoring 1 point, but you're scoring 3. I didn't like that. It was just too random.
Yeah. No, this is this is less random, more because there's so many battle plans. It's less, not battle plans, so many objectives. It's a little bit less swingy.
And they're so close together as well.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to think to yourself, because whereas Relocation Orb before may have jumped to the other side of the board, you never knew where it was going to go. Whereas this one, right, do I hold? And even a pile-in may get him in range of it.
Yeah.
That's how close it can be.
And you can get 1 unit sitting and holding 2 objectives.
Yeah, you just
very easily.
Yeah. Especially if they're like Hearthguard on the 32s.
No, this one is tough for KO. I mean, it's the one I lost in my tournament.
So I think this depends on the list you run. This one can be very good in the fact that your opponent will not take the first turn because they will go into it ahead in points, and they won't want to take first. And you remove an objective they hold, or not remove an objective at all, they stay ahead in the points, which means you're getting that priority.
Yeah.
You're getting that double turn.
Yeah, and then you're at that stage. You're going right. This really punished them now. So because they're holding 5, they may have overstretched a little bit, or they're weaker in 1 point. You can use that to your advantage.
Yeah,
Or vice versa. give it to you and you don't remove one and just super hit a corner.
I guess you can almost potentially gamble on your first turn that they will not want to give away, not want to go first because they won't want to take objective and really hammer them first turn as well, potentially. It's a risky strategy.
I find most people against KO still see them in the old book, so they will not give you first turn if they have a choice.
Yeah.
Not a bad call, but
as a KO player, I pretty much always want to go second.
Yeah.
I want to go second, but most people want the double. I don't care about the double, but I want to go second because then I can see where you went. So instead of it's me reacting to you. So when you're doing your movement, I go right. If I go there, I want to lead you further that way. I'll go over there to make you come that way. Whereas if you go first, they've sat still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, Con, you said a lot in the past that you like to go second and then just keep going second just so you don't get doubled later turns yourself.
100%.
Yeah. Basically,
Sorry.
And I know with the old book, it was definitely you can't afford to get double turned. You don't need the double turn so much, but you cannot afford to get double turned.
Yeah, you can take one turn ahead, but it's the second one that kills you.
So you lost.
I think it's a lot of people win the priority and immediately go double, taking it.
Yeah.
And then they find themselves in a position where they can't really do anything. Sometimes it's as good to give it away as it is to keep it.
But it's an interesting thing about the way the double turn works is when you go second in the turn before, you're thinking, well, I might be able to get the double, but I might not. You don't know whether you're going to win it or not. So you can't. It's risky to push forwards hoping you're going to get it. And then if you stay back or whatever, then when you do get the double, you can't necessarily capitalize on it.
Exactly.
Unless you can teleport.
That's the mini game. The mini game inside the game.
Yeah. So you lost this game, but you were really played for your secondaries, and you said you got them on the other ones. So did the secondaries make a difference on whether you qualified for the finals or not?
So I think it was third in that one.
Yeah. Oh, so you probably qualified. Yeah, you would.
Yeah, so I was pretty much qualifying, even if I didn't score any secondaries in that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so much because I think it went 20-0 in the first. Or no, I went 19-1 in the first game, and I think the second one was 19-1 as well.
Yeah. And so, did the scores from the heat carry over to the finals for determining matchups?
Yeah. So the first round, first place from Heat 1 played first place from Heat 2. So Colin played Mick. Then second played second, third played third. So I should have been playing. So we knew this before we submitted lists. And you were allowed to change your list. After the points change, if it had dropped in time, because at that stage we didn't know when it was going to come in. But you were still allowed to change it. But you had to stay in the same faction.
Yeah. So did the placings and scoring from this heat, was it only for determining who you played in the first game of the finals, or did it make a difference on your final standings?
It carried across, yeah. So
completely carried.
It was used for determining first round, but then any points you scored in the finals added onto your heat points.
Yes. So scoring your secondaries was still really vital then.
The top 14 that went in were essentially playing a 6-game tournament.
Yeah, cool. So let's circle back to your list for the finals, which is here it is. So you stuck with Barak Urbaz.
I thought because you used it in the heats, I'd stick with it. Yeah. I could have used an R in here as well; it would have fit.
Yeah. So this is quite similar to your April Wars list. A few differences in heroes. So you've got the Endremaster with Dirigible Suit, who's a general with the Toughness, Old Boots, Command Trait, and Phosphorite Bombers.
Yeah.
Then you had an admiral again, and then a chemist with emergency vent plates, and 2 gun haulers, and 2 units of 3 Sky Wardens, which were also battle line, thanks to the Endra Master being the general. Then your 2 units of 10 Thunders. And then was it just 1 unit that had 2 fumigators?
Yeah, just the one.
Yeah. And then you had your Ironclad, and you had which had the buoyancy aid, and you were escort wing this time. So, and that's 1940.
With the Endra Master, I can't remember what Tough's old boot is, but I don't think that's the one. The one I gave him was the +2 shots on his gaze.
Right, okay, so I've got the wrong one on there. So, yeah, I can't remember what the +2 shot is. It's
Can't remember what it's called.
I want to say monolens, but that's the other thing. That's the extra range that people use it with.
Oh, it's Tinkerer. It's the Tinkerer one.
Oh, yes, great Tinkerer. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I probably got that wrong because I copied and pasted it from the previous list and then into it. And then, so let's address the first thing, which is probably vent plates. A lot of people have questions about, which is.
So we knew in advance. We knew in advance it was for the phase.
Right. Okay.
We've had a rolling for quite a while. Although I did ask before I submitted just to be sure he hadn't changed his mind.
But that didn't affect your. Obviously, you still wanted to use it. So was that?
So it's because we knew who qualified and we knew what factions they had to use beforehand. So this list I wouldn't use this list probably all the time. It's a bit more skewed to what I knew I'd be fighting.
Okay.
So round 1, I was supposed to be fighting attack eel Deepkin.
Right. So it's chosen as a defensive measure for them then.
So the vent plates were there because there was supposed to be 2 Seraphon and 2 other KO players.
Yeah. Yeah. So you knew there's going to be a lot of shooting. And
it was there if I needed it. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have
it. How did the tournament run the vent, or how did you run the vent plates? That they worked for 1 shooting phase, or that they worked for?
That phase, you activate it until the end of the phase. It's -1 hit.
Yeah, that's it's the way I'm fairly sure it's intended to be played as a 1 phase thing, and not I'm going to activate this at the start of the game and then it's going to work for the rest of the game, because it doesn't specify when it stops.
Yeah.
We got the rolling well in advance for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what were the main reasons? Was it just a case of like you did your fun list for the heats and like right now go back to your strong, what you consider your strong list, or?
So when we got to this stage, this is where you start fighting the likes of all the Team NI players, all the top Irish players, and then a few of the guys who didn't quite qualify for the team this year, but were not far off. Yeah. So everyone's bringing top grade dirt. And know how to use it.
So, and then how did the points changes factor into your decisions on this?
So the Endra Master, I thought he was a bit overpriced before, but at 190 with the boats. So because the boats have went down as well as him, I see him as quite a good tick now, because if you look at him, he's essentially 3 Thunderers with a cannon.
Yeah. And he can have artifacts and command.
Yeah. So the warm up to this, the previous list I'd ran was 2 of them and Barak against Colin's Fire Slayer list. Now that was nasty. That's essentially an extra 10 Thunders with 3 cannons. When it shoots, it does a lot of damage. But because I wanted to stick with Urbaz, I wasn't going to bring Barak. And I need my Admiral, so he was in there. The Chemist was put in there simply for his -1 to hit. Normal, not vent plates, his normal -1 to hit in combat.
Right, so did he at some point drop out of the boat with the Thunderers with the fumigators?
So I was supposed, as I said, I was supposed to be fighting. I knew I was going to be fighting Robbie Wright, round 1, because we were both 3rd place, and he runs, I think it's 21 attack eels. Different variations of how many units and what size
lots of eels.
But it's 21 attack eels. So that was there as ironclad in the corner. 18 inches away is 3 Sky Wardens.
Yeah.
And right in front of the ironclad to this side is an arrow shape of the Thunders.
Right.
2 fumigators at the side.
Yeah.
One in front, so they're the 3rd man back, and the chemist in there as well. So if he decides turn 1, he's going to alpha me. He's doing so at -2 to hit.
Yeah.
And he's not touching the ironclad.
He's using it for deployment.
Yeah. So they would have deployed out of the boat.
So depending what you come up against, if you come against a melee alpha army, then -2 to hit, and if you come against a shooting one, you've got vent plates for -1 to hit.
Yeah, so that one against the alien, sort of like, you're -2 to hit. Are you going to blast me now? Because I'm re-rolling saves. So I don't mind him hitting me with the rend. It's the blast I don't want on the ironclad because I can't re-roll that. So I can take the hit of the actual attacks, but say 18 of them get in, 18 3-ups doing mortal wounds. Nah. But he dropped out a couple of days before. He wasn't feeling well.
Right.
I'm not playing Chris Junior's KO.
Yeah. One question before we move on to the games was which of the Thunderers units was part of the battalion? Was it the one without the fumigators?
Rifles.
Yeah.
Just to get the most out of the 18 inches.
Yeah.
Because the fumigators were my Arcanauts.
Yeah, so they were basically a screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, a more durable one than Arcanauts. The -2 to hit.
That's more, yeah. And the 2 wounds each.
Yeah, so 20 wounds.
And this list would be a 4-drop?
5, I think it is. Because you have the 2 Thunders.
Yeah, 200. Yeah, 200 units. So only one gets to be in the battalion.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, it's 1 to 3 Sky Wardens, I believe, but only 1 Thunder.
Yeah.
Balance and all that.
Yeah. They knew how good Thunders were.
I think it used to be 2 Thunders in the old book.
It was up to 3 Thunder units, yeah.
Yeah, and then so the other thing was the list is 1940, which we touched on earlier, is to really guarantee you the.
Yeah, so I got everything I wanted. Some of the options were buy a command point, which I didn't really care about, or buy the likes of Aether Wings, which would have put my drops up.
You didn't want those lay special Aether Wings?
That's my Aether Wings are Sky Wardens. They bring their own pikes.
Yeah. And they have shooting attacks. 24-inch range.
Another reason for making the Engine Master General was to make sure that I had more than the 3 battling, because we didn't know what scenarios we were going to play in.
Yeah.
So there is one the battle line scores more.
Yes. Yeah, and it's got quite a lot of objectives as well.
Yeah, so that gives me the gun haulers to fly high or speed boost onto, and then the Sky Wardens just doing whatever they want to do.
Okay, so let's move on to the actual games. Because I put this in a weird order. I've got the list at the beginning. Let's have a look. There we go. So,
oh my god! It was the true Civil War.
Yeah. So Civil War, the sequel.
So at the end of the heats, because he had used the first list we showed, the one I was using when the book first dropped, he literally copy and pasted it in. So when he qualified, I said to him, when the points change, you're going to have to write your own list. So this is what you came up with.
Right.
See, the chemist is using this. Kharadron's using Warp Lightning Vortex the way it should be. Don't know what Skaven are doing with it. It's not right. It's not right.
Before we put anything on the table, I told him exactly how this game was going to go, and he laughed.
What did you tell him?
Exactly. I was like, "You're going first. You're going to alpha, and you're going to bounce, and then I'm going to make a mess."
All right. Okay. So let's, because it is a KO list, let's actually talk about what he had. So he was Barak, and then he had 2 Endra Masters that are on foot. One was the general, and the other one had the Aethercast rune, basically the same way setup you had in your previous list.
I can see this list is very inspired by your old KO, by your original KO list.
My previous list, and tweaked it to mix with the list.
Yeah, so he's added in a chemist with spell in the bottle, and then he has the admiral that you had, and then he's got 10 Arcanauts, 10 Thunderers, 5 Thunderers, all with rifle, and then he's got 2 units of 3 Riggers, both with a grapple launcher and a body gun, and then 2 gun haulers, one with Colbid's compartments, and the Ironclad with the buoyancy aid, Iron Sky Command, and Warp Lightning Vortex. In 1990. So yeah, you were predicting he was going to try and, if you let him go first. Oh, what? How many drops was he? Was he?
He was 5 as well.
Yeah, so who won the roll off?
He won the roll off, which means he chose sides, which means I played first.
Right. Is that how it works now?
Yeah, they changed it.
Yeah.
Can't you, if you win the roll off, can't you choose whether to be player A or player B?
Oh,
so the person who wins the first roll off picks table sides.
Yeah, I thought you could choose whether or not to be the person who picks table sides or to deploy first.
Yeah, he picked the side with the worst, or with the better terrain.
All right, yeah.
It was a big, massive one right in the middle of it.
A big, massive what? Sorry.
Mystic.
Oh, right. Okay. So he chose that one because he wanted the mystical terrain.
Well, I didn't want me to have a mystical terrain.
I didn't want you to have mystical. Would it have made any difference?
I was given that priority regardless.
Yeah. So either way, he was going to go first.
Oh, I told him before he picked sides.
Yeah.
He was getting turn 1.
Yeah. But you would have preferred to have that mystical, maybe, or not?
I have boats.
No.
Haulers do the same thing.
Yeah.
So with my deployment, I used the terrain I had on my board, mixed with the Sky Wardens. So when he inevitably alphaed, he was able. The only thing within 18-inch range of any of his stuff was three Wardens and a gun hauler.
Was much stuff within 12? Because a lot of his firepower.
Three Wardens were 12.
Right. So half the damage from his Ironclad could only go into 3 Wardens then.
Yeah, and then I popped vent plates.
Yeah.
Which both gun haulers, the Ironclad, everything in it were in range of.
Yeah. So
you break up.
Pretty much.
Oh, you're back now.
Hello.
Are you back?
Okay. Yeah. So most stuff was -1 to hit. Obviously, if he's trying to go for your heroes, they're even worse. Because they're going to get lookouts and inside the ship, so they're -3 to hit.
So he went into it, essentially all he could hit me with was cannons, torpedoes, and his Sky Warden weapons.
Yeah. Did you deploy your chemist outside of the boat or inside? Because you spoke about in the past having.
He was just at the front.
Because obviously, if you'd been inside, you would have got potentially a slightly bigger. He would have been. Because you're not worried about combat, really. Would you? Oh no, I can't remember what his list now. I forgot what his list was. Alright. But were you worried about combat? What from his list?
He couldn't get close enough. Yeah. The only thing I would lose was Sky Wardens, and in that matchup, I fully go into the matchup assuming I'm going to lose both. Turn 1. So he killed the unit of 3 on the right, and he killed 2 from the unit on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the gun hauler with the breath of Morgrim down to 1 wound.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Ooh. So definitely not enough. And then your counterstrike just...
So at that range, I pre-measured everything, fully expecting the alpha, because everyone does. 10 Thunders got out, which are now in range of the chemist, who's on foot. Reroll 1 to wound. The Ironclad moved 10 inches, which put me 8.1 inches away from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how much did you remove?
So the Ironclad died. 7, I think it was 6 or 7 of the Thunders died. 1 of the Engine Masters died, and the Admiral died on that flank.
Yeah.
The gun hauler blew up from the bomblets. Did 26 mortal wounds to it.
Oh, wait! You got 26 mortal wounds with those bomblets.
26.
On the gun hauler.
It's a shame you hadn't used it on the Ironclad.
I know. I killed him with the amount of shots we're seeing.
All right, so I can see what you mean when you say the dice are on your side.
So, also, the thing to remember is turn 1, he used reroll wounds on the Ironclad. So when I shot, he was not rerolling saves.
Oh, he really went for it then.
Oh, he thought he was doing amazing.
Until things. At what point did he realise? Was it when he didn't kill enough, or was it when you took when you killed all his stuff?
When it started the charge phase, he realised he'd fucked up.
Yeah. The start of your charge phase or his?
Start his.
Right.
So
after he hadn't shot enough stuff, basically. Yeah. Well, which was it too late?
So there's the piece of advice I can give for any sort of KO versus KO. So I played a lot of lists that everyone looks in paper and goes, that's an alpha list. It's not. It can. But there's the golden rule of just because you can doesn't mean you should. So screening 101, deployment and screening wins games.
Yeah.
If your opponent does the exact same thing you can do, stop him from doing it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't deploy to stop you from doing it, then just let him take a turn. Don't be afraid to immediately end turn if he makes you go first.
Yeah.
Do not just end turn.
Yeah.
I can do the first move.
I forgot you. So you killed the Ironclad, gun hauler. I can't remember.
Sounds like half of the stuff, really.
Majority of the stuff. So I won priority turn 2, but at that stage I give it to him because we'll see what happens.
Was this all happening in the corner of your deployment zone?
This was happening on the bottom objective.
Right. Okay. So neither of you. Was he actually scoring anything? Were you scoring anything?
So he was scoring the 2 middle ones and his home one.
Right.
And
he didn't kill enough to get your main one.
No, he didn't get the main one. My counter return, I scored, or he still held the bottom one. But I contested the top one. But at that stage, it was sort of, right, you have a turn, do what you want. I'm scoring all 4 from now on.
Yeah.
Because the gun hauler had flew high into his deployment zone and lifted half his Arcanauts off his home objective. He failed the charge, but then next turn he was just moving on.
Yeah.
So I give him priority just to see what would happen. So he dropped Warp Lightning Vortex on me, but by doing so, hit his own Thunders. So he killed, I think it was another 2. So because it hit me 3 times, it killed the chemist. Didn't quite kill the Admiral because he got the lookout, so passed it off to the Thunders. And it finished off the Engine Master. But by that stage, I just moved out of it and lifted everything.
Yeah.
So there you go. You're getting hit by 3 times by Warp Lightning Vortex. It doesn't do as much damage as everyone thinks it does. Just putting that out there.
Well, the other thing is, because he's Barak Nar, he can't deliver it. He can't use it till turn 2.
Yeah, that's the first thing I said. It was like, he has no delivery system. He'll have to use it as like a cock block. So what I would have done turn 1 would be cast it on the top objective, then move where he went, but further back, and just plinked the screens away and left it. So then again, you've reset up your screens. You're making me now hit you, rather than you going in and bouncing. But at the same time, you're now 3-0 up. And if you want to capture the objective above, you're now in Warp Lightning Vortex. So that's what I would have done, but at the same time, I would have just ignored that objective and went for the other 3.
And then, so would you say the chemist in your list is pretty much sacrificial?
100%.
Yeah.
He
Once
was
the
there.
vent plates are done.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Well, I only used the vent plates twice. Like he does the damage if you can get shooting and stuff, but he's literally there for -1 to hit in combat on an alpha. And that's all he's there for. Everything else is a bonus.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, so after turn 2, the game was pretty much decided then. I mean, it sounded like it's decided actually almost after turn 1, but
yeah, it was over pretty quick.
And then so let's do your next game, which was against Ogre Moor Tribes. So
this is Mick Wendell.
Stonehorns.
Yeah.
Have you played against Mick before? Did you?
So I've played Mick once before, and it was when he was running Cinch.
Right.
And it came down to turn with the previous book of mine and the previous Cinch book. It came down to could he roll a 6 on a run, which he did. So that was a really good game. So this is the first time we played since, and it was with KO again, but with ogres. And I've only played ogres once before. It was Rick Myhill at Warlords, but completely different list.
Right.
So half of it I didn't know what it did.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't played against them a huge amount either. So I would have just deployed defensively and.
So we played Scorched Earth.
Yeah.
So the objectives or the side of the board I had was the red.
Yeah.
There was a piece of scenery in the middle between the 2 objectives. I deployed the Ironclad behind it, almost flush. It was about an inch and a wee bit past it. And then I screened the other side of it with the Sky Wardens and deployed everything behind that. So if he did fly across the board, he couldn't get the Ironclad, but the Ironclad would be within 9 inches. Because everyone forgets about vertical distance is just as important as horizontal. If you fly, it may be 5 inches, but if they don't fly, it could be 20. You know.
So with the amount of units you had, you would have been pretty well situated for this mission.
So I had assumed from looking at his list and asked him what his speeds and stuff were that he would have, because I deployed everything in the middle. I didn't deploy anything out to the flanks at all. Fully expecting him to go for my 2 far objectives and hold off for his own.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was going to happen. It's not what happened. So turn 1, he command point ran all his stuff 6, and his 2 Stonehorns and his 4 Mornfangs were within 9 inches of my entire army before I even went.
Did he leave stuff on his home objectives?
Yeah, so he left his ogres and his Nobblers behind, but everything else.
So
he was relying on the fact that one was ignoring Ren 1 and the other one had a 5-up ignore.
I mean, Stonehorns are just tough. Like
they're tough until you whack them with Ren 2. So the one that ignored Ren 2, I did 10 mortal wounds with the bomblets. He ignored 8.
Yep.
So then I proceeded then with the Engine Master to shoot his 3 shots with the gaze and the cannon.
And then what did the Phosphex bomblets do?
They did 10, but he ignored 8 of them.
Right. Yeah.
Only did 2 wins to him with it. But then the mixture of the cannon on the Ironclad at Ren 2, the 3d6 shots from the chemist and the Endremaster, it pretty much just wiped it out. All the Ren 1 shots from those units went into his Mornfang.
Yeah.
So end of my turn 1, both Stormhorns were dead and the Mornfang were dead.
Okay.
Leaving him with, I think it was 3 ogres and 1 Iron Blaster plus his Noblars.
Were they all on the opposite side of the board?
So the ogres were on the 18-inch mark right in the middle of the board on the right. And the rest of them were on his objectives. Now you had stuff from reserve, but it was the dogs. Mm-hmm. And then I won priority into turn 2 as well.
Right. Did he take that?
As soon as I killed the Stonehorns on the Mornfang, he conceded. He was like, I can't do anything.
Right. Okay.
I said to him, right, tell you what, I'll give you priority. We'll talk it out, see what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked it out. He would burn 2 of my objectives,
mm-hmm.
and then I would table them and burn all 4.
Right.
Because he couldn't get into combat and he couldn't get within shooting range.
Yeah.
He would have
and you wouldn't even need to burn them until the end anyway.
No, I would only need to hold, say, 1 of his, because it was, because at least 2 of them were on. He scored them, but they would have been undefended to burn my 2, so I could have just moved on with them.
Yeah, you fly high onto them, and then
can't come within an inch, but I still score. So
yeah, can't come with an inch, but you only have to be within 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it doesn't sound like the extra points for having a leader on there would have made any difference, because you would. It sounds like you could have scored even without burning them.
So the 2 middle ones on my side, he couldn't burn because I held both with the Ironclad.
Right. Yeah.
And the Admiral was still in the boat, so he still held both.
So it was quite significant there in stopping them being done.
Yeah, if he had went second in the same scenario and doubled, yeah, he wouldn't have been able to burn. Because the Chemist was standing on the one to the left, and the Endremaster was also standing on the one to the right, so you would have to kill all 3 heroes and the Admiral.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to burn set objectives. And then even then, there was still 20 Thunderers to deal with, because he counts as extra models and objectives, but I still had more.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't related to your list or anything. I've heard a lot of people complaining about the burning being D3 victory points. How do you feel about
that? You see, I don't necessarily mind the D3 anymore, because it's D3 plus 1 if a hero is within 6.
Yeah.
The D3, it depends. Are you one of those players that captures it immediately burns even when they don't need to? In which case, you deserve to roll a 1.
Yeah, you should really. If
usually the people who are complaining about it are the people who are burning it for no reason, just because they can. Personally, I have no problem with it. Yeah, so you may burn 3 each in a turn, and your opponent might roll 9, and you might roll 3. It's a dice game, you know.
Yeah.
I prefer rules in the game to be rolling dice rather than just auto happen. Techless, I'm looking at you.
Okay. I think we can move on from this game, though, can't we? Because it sounds like a lot of your games have been relatively straightforward.
Some not so much.
Yeah, I mean, there could have been more eels.
So this is a really, really awkward list for KO.
I'd net, yeah.
Well, so just off the bat, this isn't outflanking. This isn't in your face turn 1. This is lots of ignoring rend, lots of MSU. Not only are they in cover turn 1, they are in cover the rest of the game until you deal those turtles. But this list fully makes use of shoot the closest target.
Yeah.
Which is defensives. So it gets very iffy. All that rend 2 and high damage is not great if they don't roll below a 3.
Yeah.
This objective, I believe, nothing scored extra, but we chose the primary objective.
Yeah, so this was forcing the hand.
So I really like that. This is my favorite objective of the new rules.
Yeah, I like this one. This one's a fun one because there's nothing random there. It's a tactical choice, and there's
Yeah. So it's you deploy your army, you move, you do everything, and then when your opponent goes, you go right. Okay, do I pick the one I'm defending and force them in, or do I pick one they can't get, or pick one that they can get, but to take them away from my main army to set up for an alternative? So you have extra
choices.
Yeah,
there's a lot of depth.
So in this game, he fully expected me to alpha turn 1, so his deployment was impeccable.
That's psychological warfare happening again.
So he deployed on point on everything. So turn 1, I just stayed 24 inches away, killed a shark, killed a couple of defensives, end of turn.
Do you think that really is good for people when they zone out everywhere? And do you think that forces people to spread out more than they need to? Like the threat that you can.
100%. So it comes down to just because you can teleport doesn't mean you have to. A lot of people forget that boats are fast.
Yeah.
They just go, fly high, must block that off, and then all of a sudden, you've one of your big heavy hit units has conga line crap across the board, and then like a frigate charges one of them, and then all of a sudden, the rest of the guys are piling in 3 inches every turn, and the frigate's just every turn dropping D3 mortal winds on them on a 4-up,
Yep.
When too many people get close, it flies high out and just starts the whole thing all over again.
Yeah.
So
you charge with a gun hole at the other end.
Yeah. Or better even yet, charge Skyward on either end and they can't pile in.
Yeah.
Just stuck there. Because people when the conga line, they go the full length out and they spread the whole unit out. So if you peg both ends, there's no pylons.
Yeah.
And then with the grapnel, no retreats either. So you have to kill 6 riggers or 6 wardens or you're not moving.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good objective for us.
Yeah.
This adds to the I'm going to use all 5 turns and I'm just going to decide where you go. So he deployed very heavily top left. So instead of in that sort of just straight down.
Right.
So I made the back right objective the primary, so he couldn't get onto even with a 6-inch run. At that stage, I was 24 inches away max. It's nothing closer than that. He shuffled forward about 6 inches because I killed whatever it was holding his top objective. So he moved 3 yields onto it into turn 2. I won priority, did the same thing, moved back 24 inches away, shot. Turn 3, I won priority. I think we drew in that one, and then I had priority the turn before, so I got to choose. So because I went first in turn 2, he was a little bit more lax with his movement because nobody expects anyone to charge deep in turn 3.
Right.
I went balls deep. So he had 5 command points at that stage, and I was like, don't care. So the middle objective, I went straight in, charged everything I could just to get the mortal winds off. Didn't care if he killed them, just to get the bombs dropping, to get around that ignoring rend. Killed quite a bit, but not as much as I would have liked. Then his turn, everything was locked in combat, so he wasn't really going anywhere. So he just +5 attacks out to 3 units, which was Volturnus, one of the defensives right in the middle, and the turtle that was engaged with the Ironclad. Made an absolute mess. But didn't quite do enough damage because of the reroll saves and the 6-up ignores.
Yeah.
So in my return hit, the Ironclad healed up because I still had the Endermaster in range. Flew high over the top. Blew the shit out of Volturnus. Which left him with it was 3 units of defense seals that had 2 of them had 1 left and 1 of them had 2 left.
Yeah.
I had lost a considerable amount at that stage, but both at this stage both Thunders were out on the table, as were all the heroes. So the Ironclad was on the middle objective of his by himself, which was his primary objective. My Gunhor was on the bottom left. The top right was a unit of Thunders, and my bottom left had engaged his unit of 2 eels with my Sky Wardens with the grapnels.
Yeah.
They were just stuck there. So that was very tight.
Yeah.
that was squeaky. Could have went either way.
I mean, it's a tough list, like, to fight against.
I'll fight back over that.
Yeah, it's really well done for managing to pull that out.
Yeah.
That was all dice. That was tactics only went to turn 2 on that one, and then it was just right balls deep. How much damage can I do before he gets +5 attacks?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, well, there's if you've got a lot of ships and there's a fair bit of damage front loaded in those bombs.
So what saved me there as well was the -2 to hit. So I was able to get the fumigators and the chemist within range of the eels and the turtle that have the +5 attacks.
Right.
So
had you charged those in as well then?
I charged them.
Yeah. So you charged your chemist and your thunders in.
So they on my turn they weren't engaged.
Right.
His pilot on my turn they were.
Oh, okay. So he pulled them in.
So it was Ironclad, you're -2 to hit.
Yeah.
Was essentially how it went because he killed the gun hauler that had pegged them.
Yeah.
After he piled in, because the gun hauler went in to do the D3 more wins and then he could die. That was all he was doing. He was on like 2 wins left.
Yeah. That sounds like a very close game.
It was very. It was the closest of them all. Seraphon one was a bit closer, but for different reasons.
And was this top table?
This was yes.
This was the game to decide it.
At this stage, between me and Colin, we should have been playing, but the TO had ruled you couldn't play anyone you've already played.
Right from the first heats. Yep.
So it should have been me and Colin playing, but because we played in the first heat.
Yeah.
This way. So Colin went into that game auto second minimum.
Yeah.
I think I was 4 points ahead of him that game. Like going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he had beat me. So extra emphasis on how important secondaries are.
Yeah. I mean, the similar thing happened in my tournament where I played against the top table. I lost and still came first, and the guy who just beat me came second.
Yeah. So the perfect example was in the same tournament was I think 4th and 5th. It was Chris Caves Jr. and Dean McLaughlin. So Chris beat Dean. Dean had 3 wins, a draw, and 2 losses. Chris had 4 wins and 2 losses, but Dean was 4 points ahead because Dean was just smashing at the secondaries.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you the new scoring's more representative of the games rather than I got a major victory even though I got tabled 2 turns ago, 20 points.
Yeah. What secondaries did you have for your last game against the Ardent?
So that one, I know the one I didn't get was killed Voturnus in combat with a battle line unit. And the only time I was in combat was he had +5 attacks. So I was like, nope. So start shooting. Killed 1,000 points in that game. He killed, I think it was 850 of mine. What was the other one? I think it was kill 3 battle line.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, when you're using all 18, it's very hard I used all the harder ones on Heat 1, which freed up the easier ones for the final. Whereas there was a few people, like Mick didn't do that. Mick used all the easy ones day one.
Yeah.
So he suffered points.
Yeah, because you basically ended up playing 6 games and then,
Yeah, you use all the 8. So 6 or V, you use 12.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, if we circle back to your list, if I can find it amongst all these. There we go. There it is. I mean, what would you consider like the most, like the MVPs? Was there any dead weight, or were you happy with the way everything performed?
Everything performed exactly how I wanted to. The Engine Master didn't quite pull as much weight as I had hoped. And the fact that game 1 I get wiped out with Warp Lightning Vortex. Game 2, Volturnus beat him to shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did everything I needed him to do. So, he got his bomblets off. He got a turn of combat. Did a couple of mortal wins. Gun haulers doing exactly what gun haulers do. Absolutely amazing. Sky Wardens, can't say anything wrong about them. They have that 24-inch reach. So when I sit back, they've got the 2 guns. They charge chaff. They still have 3 attacks with the pike. Warden, or when you use riggers in combat, you're like, yeah, they're ran 2, but they've 1 attack. And what I want them to kill usually is a 6-up save or a 5-up save. So ran 2 is a bit wasted.
Right. Fair enough.
You're basically just wanting that chaff out of the way. So you want more attacks.
Yeah.
The Thunder's reliable every game. It's just reliable damage. It's the one thing KO have always sort of, was I'll table you turn 1 or I'll die. Whereas Thunders were always, I'm going to do between this and this damage.
Yeah. So, and then it sounds like the grapnel launchers and the Sky Wardens are very useful.
Unbelievable. So it's the fact that they shoot now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're now essentially skyhooks.
Yeah. So just they're way better in my opinion than skyhooks. +1 to charge is nice, but just the utility you get of can't retreat.
Yeah.
If someone, as I said, does the whole big conga line out or deep strike stuff in your face and spreads them out for max shooting or whatever, you could just make an absolute mess. Like I did that with Caves Juniors, the Warhammer. Warhammer World?
Yeah.
He won with the new book. Was it the final?
Oh, no, I can't remember.
We got the trophy and all. I think it was. I think it was. But it was like 2 days before that he played me and he conceded. I think it was within 20 minutes because he deep struck his whole arm forward. I just pegged him on the other side. I was like, right, you're stuck there for a turn. Moved everything over the top and just killed all his heroes because he had screened off the 9 inches and then forgot boats could still move.
They do occasionally just use that movement value.
So that's where the Admiral just 100% makes his points back. So right there, the Ironclad 9 out of 10 of times isn't getting over that gap.
Yeah. But if you give him run and shoot.
You add 6 inches to that and still shoot, different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden that Ironclad's moving just as fast as those gun haulers.
Yeah. It also sounds like you made good use of the Chemist combined with the Fumigators.
Yeah.
So
when it mattered, it worked.
But I get it doesn't sound like you'd be tempted to put Fumigators in the other unit. Is it a case that you just see them as doing those 2 units and doing different roles?
So I spend a lot of time 18 inches away.
Yeah.
So the Fumigators would be wasted. It's the same. I love deck sweepers and cannons, but I spend a lot of time 18 inches away, and both of them are out of range. Again, that list is very heavily skewed towards, I knew what I was going to be fighting, or roughly what I was going to be fighting. So normally there wouldn't be 2 fumigators in there at all.
Right. Okay.
Would
you keep the chemist normally?
No.
What? So you put in? What would you put in? An Endra Master?
Yeah, an Endra Master or a Navigator.
Right.
Depends what point.
Yeah,
Navigators are surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Like
Navigators in NAR in particular.
They'll actually just deny spells.
Yeah, it's no. If you had that and a Navigator, you're 4 dispels +1.
Yeah, just I'd rather not have a magic phase this game. Sorry.
Yeah. So you come up against all those people who goes, right, I rely on getting this 1 spell off, and he's just like, nope. And by the way, you see that thing that flies over there? Half move.
Yeah.
Oh, you've not that flies? Right, all my boats reroll charges.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So going forwards, because you stuck with Urbaz because you'd used it in the heat, but will you go back to Nar? Or
so Nar is still my personal favorite.
Okay.
It just adds all those extra. So, for example, one of the scenarios, battle line scores more. I would rather the Thunderer score more than the Gunhunters.
Mm-hmm.
Just simply because the Gunhunter, if you focus on it enough, it'll die pretty much immediately. Whereas the Thunderers, you need to do twice as much damage.
Yeah.
Have that essentially 20 wounds for 10, and they've got a 4-up save. You can still reroll it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
If the scenery is big enough, it's 3-up save, and there's the point that a lot of people forget is if they're within 3 inches when they shoot, they get +1 attack.
Yep.
So if you charge them
that is
bounce, all of a sudden, thanks for the extra 20 shots.
I mean, just if you should give those things cannons, and they get in combat, 4 cannons, 8 shots, no more unit, gone.
See, I love the cannons, but it's the 12-ounce range that kills me. So I made up with that with bringing the Endra Master who brought a cannon.
Yeah. Fair enough, but
yeah,
I know they're better than Sylphan, the cannons.
Yeah, the weakest unit in that list was probably the Endra Master.
Right.
In terms of overall performance, but in terms of what I wanted them to do, they did exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
So, the escort wing, I was very disappointed in, though.
Right.
Didn't get much use out of the reroll ones.
Well, no, it wasn't so much they didn't get much use. It was KO still have the same problem they used to have of they overkill quite a lot. So when you pick one unit, if the first unit in the formation kills it, you're like, with the way the command points are, you have to state where you're going to use them at the start before you start shooting. So I found that the same units who were using that escort wing were still receiving +1 from the command point. But again, it was just there for the second artifact and the
less drops.
Yeah.
That's usually what the battalions in our book are for. They're more useful for just having artifacts, having drops, and then they sometimes also do another thing. Like no one takes the Iron Sky command for the ignore battle shock bubble. You just take it because
I just flat out refuse to take it. I don't want that many. I don't want to pay points for the battle shock immune whenever I have an admiral that does it.
No, you don't get it for that at all.
No,
you just get it because it's got a useful. It's just got a useful selection of units, and it means all your heroes are 1-drop.
It's all the heroes are 1-drop, and nothing else is. And I don't like engine riggers, which you must bring. I think it's 1 to 3.
Yeah, you need to bring at least 1 unit of engine riggers.
So again, that kills it for me.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people don't like the admirals, because they're going straight to Iron Sky Command. So they're looking at it as that they've already got battle shock immunity, and then you're looking at it from the opposite perspective. It's like, well, why pay for the battalion to get battle shock immunity and they're looking at it from the other side, which is why I pay for the app or whatever.
Iron Sky is 110 now.
It is 110.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was 130.
That was 120, so it's getting me a leader. It's getting me a unit on the ground who's buffing my army and giving me the same ability.
Yeah.
As the formation.
Although the admiral does need to use a command point for that ignore battle shock, doesn't he?
No.
No, it's just all there. Now, what he needs to do is his pass off wins is not a choice. He has to do it. You can accidentally end up killing more thunders than you thought, so you have to watch out for that.
Yeah.
The other thing is he can only do that if the unit is over a certain size. It's 5 models.
Yeah, 5 or more. Yeah. So you can never kill too many. So it's a nice wee trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people after the event. They were putting in the chat, "Oh, why did you not bring spell in the bottle?" I can honestly say I've never used it, nor will I use it, nor do I rate it at all. The reason being is you said about Chris's list, he had no way to deliver it.
Yeah.
Which it almost forces you. Well, sorry, if you're using Warp Lightning Vortex, it pretty much forces you into Seraphon, so you can make the best of it. But it also requires you to either tick Collector, which means you have 2 chemists, and I don't even want 1. 2, that chemist will be your general, or tick a battalion, which is normally, as you said, Iron Sky Command, which is the one I see the most. So you're bringing a battalion for the sake of bringing a battalion. You have to bring 3 heroes, isn't it?
Yes.
3 heroes, yeah.
3 heroes.
Which usually your navigator, your chemist, and your Endon Master.
Your 3 heroes, your ironclad, and 1 to 3 riggers.
And an Arcos.
And then pay for the spell on top of that. No, I'm alright.
Yeah.
So you've seen in my list first, Chris is there. For him to squeeze Warp Lightning Vortex in, he had to drop his damage potential down.
Yeah, he lost 2 units of Skull Wound.
And he lost 5 thunders.
Yeah.
And had no way to deliver it.
Yeah. I don't think it's a good fit in Barak, certainly. And 100%. I think you are right in that it definitely pushes you towards going for Seraphon.
So this is just my personal preference. I like to have, if I have 2,000 points to spend in an army, I want to spend 2,000 points in an army. I don't want to spend 1,600 points in an army and spend 400 points to bring a gimmick.
Yeah.
Because as I said earlier about the game being won by deployment and screening. So the Warp Lightning Vortex is, yes, it has a massive bubble, but the actual placement range is quite short. So if your opponent, 1, knows it's coming, 2, if they've played Seraphon before, they know about the once per game hero phase move, they know how to deliver it with the extra range. And if they screen that off and don't deploy their army in one place, you've just wasted 600 points.
Yeah.
Or the likes of Croak, where to get in that range to drop it, you have to get super close, and it's getting dispelled. It's getting dispelled immediately, and he's microwaving your whole army.
Yeah.
Just things like that. So I play a lot of team events, and I sort of fall into the role of all comers.
Yeah.
So instead of going super down one path, I like to be able to go, say there's a 6-man team event. I like to be able to fight 4 of those lists. There'll be 2, no, do not put me in there. I can go offensive or I can go defensive, whatever you need. But at least if there's, you look at the current meta, so, say last year, Flesh Eater Cork got released, Slayers got released, Skaven got released. You knew 50% of the list were going to be them. Then when Slaanesh dropped, you knew Slaanesh was going to make up the other ones. So that's when KO started coming back then, because they were like, I'm going to make a fucking mess here. Because, all those armies rely on a lot of 5-up saves and what the Skyhooks do, round 2.
Yeah. It's
So
been great talking with you, Dave. My phone's about to die, so I'm going to have to leave.
No worries.
But thanks for coming on. You guys keep going without me. It's on 3%. My phone hates hates StreamYard.
Yeah, it does train things. My phone dies just all the time now. It doesn't.
Yeah. All right. I'll head off.
Thanks, Crod.
No worries.
See you, everyone.
Bye, Crod. So, I mean, we covered most things now. I mean, what I'm interested in is where your list is going to go in the future, because it sounds like you're going to go back to Barak now.
So it'll be bouncing between R and Urbaz, because both of them sort of fit with the units I like.
Yeah. Do you think you would, if you went now, would you drop Escort Wing?
In future tournaments?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Nar doesn't use up my boat artifact.
Yeah.
Whereas Urbaz, I'll have to bring a escort wing or attack wing or command or whatever, just because I don't want Breath of Morgrim on my Ironclad.
Yeah, because you want the buoyancy aid.
Even if you're not using buoyancy aid, it's just I don't want to be locked into that's what's ticking.
Yeah.
So it's better on like a frigate or a gun hauler where you can just sort of use it. If you lose it, you don't really care.
Yeah.
But buoyancy, even if I'm not putting everything in the Ironclad, like a lot of the times nothing's in the Ironclad, they deploy around it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, people look at your list and immediately go, Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
20 Thunders, all the heroes, he's going to hit me in the face.
You've got the option to do it as well.
Yeah.
So it's flexibility.
It's the same with the 2 units of 10 Thunders. They can be in two different places at once. They can shoot 2 different things. You can't overkill them. I can keep one out of it and keep one in and still fly about and do whatever. You just have all those tactical flexibility.
Yeah.
It gives you more shots in total. Gives you the second drill bill, which for ages I was using as 1 inch range, 1 attack. I was very surprised when I actually looked at the roll and seen it was 3 inches and D3 attacks. It was quite a nice surprise.
The 3 inches is quite surprising.
Yes, especially when in my NAR list, I'll charge the Ironclad in. I'll use the Thunderers inside to clear whatever it charged.
Yeah.
I'll pile in the Ironclad to whatever's in behind, because a lot of people, when they scream, they don't realize 3 inches isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll set whatever it is they want to protect down, and they'll put the screen exactly 3 inches in front. So when you kill the chaff and pile in 3 inches, you're now in base contact, whatever you want to protect, and then you've got, say, 2 engine masters, an admiral, and the boat hitting it. And that's where the +1 hit comes in handy.
Yeah.
It's in your 3s and 4s on the Ironclad, 2s and 2s on the admiral. If it's a hero, you're rerolling 1s.
Yeah.
And then the engine masters are 2s and 3s, I believe.
Yeah. And if the screen is really weak, or depending where they take models off, potentially the bombs will take the screen off. So then
So you're looking at cities right there.
Yeah.
So the Hallowheart type list. So I played Dean's Hallowheart Warlords. So I sat back, skirmished the objectives, killed all the Phoenix Guard, and then straight in. He had wrapped a unit of handgunners around the front, went in, lifted all of them, piled in, and all of a sudden you have those 3 heroes in the Ironclad within range of 3 mages, which is his entire army's built around. So the Admiral's just like dead because they've got a 6-up save, and he's doing 6 damage to a 6-up save.
Yeah.
And then the engine masters are hitting the other 2, and then the boat, whatever it hits first. So within one charge roll, which you can re-roll for 1 command point, you're getting 6 or 7 activations, depending on what's in it.
The other thing is, if you're killing heroes and stuff in combat, it's just more efficient because you're not dealing with lookouts there.
Yeah, so that's another way. Like you said, lookout, sir. Anything that sort of does -1 to hit against shooting, you just go in and beat them with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's an awkward one in the likes of Duality of Death, where it says anything inside of the boat, doesn't matter how many in it counts as one model for objectives.
Mm-hmm.
If you put the boat in and a hero inside slaps and kills, does he then score?
For Duality of Death.
Because he's now the only hero in range, and he killed the person who held it. Because now you have to kill a hero inside a boat if he holds it.
Yeah, well, we don't have Duality of Death anymore, do we? But in Arcane Power, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also... Oh, yeah, but it's not in the... Because I was going to say it doesn't use the standard objective rules, but it's not in the objective rules that they don't count. It's on the War Scroll.
Yeah, so it also doesn't say that they don't count.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact wording is.
The wording is it counts as having one model in range. Why the likes of a hero inside a boat still scores the additional points for being in range. So he doesn't count as an additional model for holding objective, but he's still in range for the additional. Same with battle line or whatever.
No, it says models in this garrison are not counted towards gaining control of an objective.
Yes, so for models controlling it.
Yeah, so
the Ironclad will be the only one that holds it, but he will still.
Yeah, but I was saying something like Places of Arcane Power or Duality of Death. It's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Although it's you could.
Tio.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be worth asking the TO on it. But I think I could see them ruling against it.
It would be beautiful because then you have to deal with the hero in the boat, and if it's an admiral, he's, as you said, 2 up, -1 to hit.
Yeah, well, the other thing is if he does kill their heroes, they're not scoring it anymore anyway.
No, they immediately.
And then next turn, one of your heroes gets out before the boat moves.
That wouldn't count.
Yeah.
Because you have to move on to it.
Oh yeah. But Places of Arcane Power is the worst battle plan for us.
The best thing they did about Places of Arcane Power was get rid of the arcane part. There was nothing worse than the last book when you played Arcane Power. You're like, well, I have one model with an artifact.
Yeah.
And then there's some dickhead with 10 pink horrors.
Yeah.
Just go, you.
So I mean, going forwards, you're probably going to go to Barak now, and then I don't know. I mean, are you going to try out lots of different things, or
I'm trying
any tournaments long?
Different every time. Next tournament, we're doing another sort of heat-based one here, but it's using sideboards, so it's a bit different.
Oh, you said about that.
Next main tournament, I think, is Liverpool.
Yeah.
At the Just Play Guys GT.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure now if I can make it or not. We'll have to see closer to the time. Mm-hmm. But after that, it's Warlords again in February. So I think it's 12 teams of 6.
Yeah.
It's got dramatically higher profile. So we have the Brotherhood Byron team with Aaron Watson and all. Warlords or Marauders, are coming as well.
Right.
So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
Our team for it is myself, Colin Cochran, Chris Caves Jr., Ben Cochran, the Silent Assassin, Peter Pratt, and Donald Taylor.
Yeah.
Bringing out all the dirt,
Yeah. So you're going to be the take up an all-comers role in that as per normal, then you reckon?
Sorry?
Yeah, your list will end up being an all-comers list for that, do you think?
Yes, I can promise there will be an admiral in
it. So, I mean, is there anything else about KO or about your list that you want to bring up before we sort of round up the show?
just reinforce the point, the part, because I see a lot of people on the KO WhatsApp chat. They're talking, you're using the alpha list.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's using Warp Lightning Vortex or not, you know, they could be using Iron Sky Attack or lots of riggers.
Mm-hmm.
If you see someone screening really well, do not try an alpha.
Yeah.
Because even if you go forward the alpha, you lift all the screens with your 12-inch shooting attacks on the riggers, and all of a sudden you realize, shit, I'm 12.1 inches away.
Yeah.
You know, you just waste a lot of points in riggers. But at the same time, if they screen really well and then fuck up, say, on the right hand flank where they leave the 9-inch charge, yeah, tear away, go straight in. Vertical distance is just as important as horizontal. So a lot of people, when I say that, they go, you know, oh, I don't want to put my ironclad on top of a piece of scenery. So that's not what I said. So if there's a wall, say it's a 7-inch wall height, or 7-inch high wall, for you it maybe takes 4 inches to get the other side of it.
Yeah.
For them, it maybe takes 15.
Yeah.
So that way you can move there, shoot all your 9-inch range guns, and you're still free from a charge.
Yeah.
Not all sceneries tall and junky to stand on. You know those new right ruins.
Yeah.
Feel free to put an ironclad up on top of that. Again, you can get closer. It's 2.5 inches tall, so that's whatever. Say you go 12 inches away. That's a 14.5-inch charge for them.
Yeah.
You know, just all those little things to look at. And with fly high, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say to me, why would you run with a boat when you can fly high? So we can't come within 9.
Well, that's the other thing with the Admiral, is a lot of people say, well, what's the point of run and shoot when you can fly high? And it's because you can get onto terrain, you can get onto...
On the terrain, you can get closer. If you fight the likes of Seraphon or Nurgle to an extent, depends how many trees they put out. Or anything that summons or deep strikes or does anything they got there, they can just put these little pockets of 3 models or 10 models all across the board. And all of a sudden you find, shit, I can't fly high except backwards. Or if you're up close and personal and you want to use disengage, get over a unit onto an objective, you can't do that if you fly high. So the extra D6 or 6 if you have a command point and don't roll 6 with the Admiral and still be able to shoot could win you a game.
Yeah.
But there's lots of things in that list where it's you play 6 games, 3 times you don't use them, but the other 3 you're using it every turn.
Yeah, things like the grapnel launchers. It's not like every game someone's going to conga.
You want 1 in 5 games that'll come in handy, but it'll win you the game.
Yeah.
The likes of Flamers, for example. Flamers do absolutely nothing in combat.
Yeah.
But if you ping them with the grapnels, even if they double you, they have to shoot the riggers.
Yeah.
It's not there to stop them retreating. It's to make sure they shoot that 100 point.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's the sort of thing that
they do 18 shots at D3 damage each, and they can do 6 wounds total.
Yeah.
It's all about minimizing damage. I was talking to a brother the other day, and we were talking about it, and he described it. You know the film Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
Where they're doing the training, and the guy goes, why do you need a knife in a nuke fight when all you have to do is push a button?
Yeah.
The enemy can't push the button if you disable his hand.
Yeah.
So even like those Stonehorns, that do the ridiculous amount of damage on the charge. Well, if they can't charge, they don't do the damage.
Yeah.
So keep yourself, work out what your opponent's list does, or not even list, army. So you look at Daughters of Cain or Slayers. So Slayers, if they're using, is it Hermdar that gives them the battle shock immune?
I think so.
Hermdar were really good against because they are movement 4 and they have a once per game plus 2 move.
Yeah.
So you're trying to draw that +2 move out early game, and then after that you can go 18 inches away, 16 inches away, and he can't catch you.
Yeah.
But is it Voss drag where they can run and charge? Different story. Where all of a sudden, those movement 4 are now movement 10, and they're still charging you. So if you go 18 inches away, it's an 8-inch charge, you're like, and even 5 Earth Guard Berserkers can kill an Ironclad.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of know what your opponent can do, think about it in your deployment, and sort of react every turn to stop them being able to do a lot of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying a lot of similar things to Sean when we had him on. Obviously, you're doing it with a different list.
Sean's the guy from New Zealand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aye, very, very similar.
There's a lot of the points you're bringing up about distances away that you want to be from units and stuff.
Yeah.
It's about, I guess the key thing is about playing a game for 5 turns and making sure you.
The way I see the new book is it used to be you did a lot of damage all in one go, and then your next turn you maybe find, unless you doubled, you would find you were like 1,500 points less, or 1,000 points less, so your damage would half. Whereas now you do less damage at once, but you do more damage over the course of the game.
Yeah,
and you can take more of a hit. So the likes of Arcanauts, I see them getting a lot of bad time. I think Arcanauts is the most obnoxious battle line in the game at the moment. KO, because you fire them in cover. Let's say overgrown, and something charges them. You're just like reroll saves.
Yeah,
you're going to be here for another turn, mate. We're not going anywhere. They make skeletons child's play.
Yeah. So it seems like, and it's about surviving your first couple of turns.
You don't
waiting for that moment to hit.
So, if you're going to hit, there's no point hitting when you're not ready.
Yeah.
So if they have, because I've seen whenever the book first dropped, like Gary was saying a lot of things in the chat about, this will work once, and then next time you play them, they'll know what you're going to do. Well, then surprise them in that case by not doing it turn 1.
Yeah.
So they'll have moved to counter it. Let them.
Yeah.
Wait a turn. They might fuck up turn 2.
Yeah.
And then if they do, then go in. Same with if they go super defensive. Like if they go right back up into their own, against the board edge.
Yeah.
Just capture the objectives.
Yeah.
You don't need to go right up. If they let you have over half the objectives in the game, be happy to just tick over half the objectives and not even shoot.
Yeah.
Because at that range, they're not getting you unless they're eels or other KO players or something like that there. But even then, you put them immediately in the back foot, so they're going to have to either rush or do some sort of Hail Mary. Yeah. So even then, you're in control of it. You can go, right, I'm in a good position here. I've spread my army out. So even if you do go balls deep, you're only killing maybe 400 points. But to do so, you've exposed your whole army, or you've went out of your buffs. Just control the game.
Yeah. So, would you say that chaff is your most important resource in your list?
100%. Looking again, so my main army is Death. So Legions in the Gash. So everyone will look at chaff and go, chaff is shit. Chaff's chaff. It's there because it's to fill your battle line. As you can see, like in my first list, I was using Skywardens as chaff. They're not battle line.
Yeah.
They will save your ass in 9 out of 10 of the times the game. So when you've got the likes of Hitch, you can fly high in Ironclad.
Yeah.
Bring 6 Wardens with you and reset your screens up every time.
Yeah.
So you're not only teleporting a boat, you're teleporting a boat with its screens.
Yeah.
Which aren't locked into the same place either. You can set them up wherever you need them, as long as it's fully within 6.
Yeah.
But you can stay at that, say, 18-inch range. So your thunders are shooting, your torpedoes are shooting, your cannons shooting. You're using your gold, you're using your command points because NAR's giving you the extra ones. So you're maybe re-rolling 1s on all the units.
Yeah.
But you set the guys up so that if they do decide to follow, all they can hit is those screens, and then your guys 6 inches behind. So even those units that can pile in 6 inches are still hitting those units in the front.
Yeah.
And then with the designer notes that flying units don't stop you flying high, even if they get within 3, they're not attacking you, but they're not locking you there either.
Yeah.
So if you can draw the likes of eels into a corner, just fuck off to the other side. Remove them from the game for 3 turns.
Yeah. It's like that's how Crom was playing his original list. He was sitting in the corner, letting people come at him, and then using the Realms Curse Rupture to sort of lock them in place while he disappeared.
The funny thing is, if you sit in the corner, everyone will come at you.
Yeah.
It's not if they come at you, they will come at you.
Yeah. Unless you leave the corner first, which is what a lot of people do with Zilfin.
Yeah, like, so the list I was running sort of pre-last handbook, where they changed you can only buy 1 command point.
Yeah.
Was my Court of Nohamia, 2 zombie dragons, Neferata, Bloodseeker Palanquin, 9 dogs, 10 zombies. And everyone was like, oh, alpha list. So they deploy super defensively. So I would just summon my dogs out on the objectives and end turn. And they're like, fuck. Because if they deploy super far back, they have to waste a turn moving forward to where they would have deployed. Okay, so it's now 6-0. Turn 2, they move forward. They may capture 1 objective. Okay, it's 8-1, and then hit them.
Yeah.
So that says you're then controlling the attack, but you have them in the back foot. You're the one that's ahead in points. So even if you fluff an attack and they kill one of your zombie dragons or your ironclad, it's still 8-1. So it's different if it's the other hand where you have to take risks that you normally wouldn't do on the off chance you score 1 point or you deny them scoring. Sort of. It comes back to know your opponent. So if you know what a faction can do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important parts of the game is you get a very short distance knowing what your army can do and knowing what the battle plans are. If you know what your opponent can do, it's a massive difference.
Yeah, so for example, that death list I was running, perfect example, was it was built simply to kill Daughters of Cain. Because Daughters of Cain, where they float about, oh, look at me with Witch Brew, I'm Battle Shock immune. What do they not bring? Command points.
Yeah.
So if you outdrop them, I can alpha them. You kill 15 out of each Witch unit. On turn 1, they have no command points, and you're taking a Battle Shock at 15 dead, and you're -2 bravery. So that's what I did at the summer, for example.
Those units are a lot less scary when they're depleted.
Yeah, like 5 witches going to a zombie dragon that's ignoring Ren because of Neferata. So all of a sudden you're like, by the way, you're hitting 6s because you're -3 to hit. But even that list, everyone looked on paper and goes, that's an alpha list. It can move 24 inches a turn and make a mess. And I would say 9 out of 10 times in the game, I didn't move turn 1. But that's just an example. Just because you see something on paper as an alpha strike doesn't mean it is. So we come back to the Ironclad and the 2 units of 10 Thunders. I can do it, but I'm not limited to doing it. I have other options. I can skirmish for 2 turns. I can keep you 24 inches away and still actually do more shooting and magic damage than most other armies can do. And then whenever I see an opening, just jump on it. If you don't see an opening, make one.
So do you ever find that you have these games where, because you're sort of skirting around, you're not picking up points, or you're not picking up enough points?
So,
and that almost forces you to go in earlier than you'd want to, because you need to start picking up more points.
Because I know a lot of the armies I face, I know exactly what their moves are, what they can do. Can they run in charge? Are they like +3 to charge or whatever? So that way you can skirt around at their max range, So you're doing all this damage to them where they have no other choice but to run at you and hope for the double turn.
Yeah.
So you're forcing. So I always play prepare for the double turn. Against you, but don't hope for it. It's not guaranteed. So if you can put your opponent on that pedestal where they're relying on the double turn, you don't have to worry about being too far behind in objectives, because if they don't come at you, you're just going to keep doing the same thing, and all of a sudden by turn 3 they're not going to have anything left, and then you just have two full turns of scoring everything because you can be everywhere you want.
Yeah.
So that's how you get around likes of Daughters of Cain, Slayers. Nurgle's a bit iffy on that because they can be wherever they want to be if they get enough trees down. And they're Nurgle, so shooting's not the most efficient.
No, more against Plague Bearers.
Yeah. But Plague Bearers, I would happily charge.
Yeah. Well, so especially if you're just going to put one unit of Wardens into the end of the unit.
Yeah. Like, it's well known, Plague Bearers don't kill anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably sit there for 5 turns against them.
If you can get a Plague Bearer stretched out and hit them with Sky Wardens on the other side, it's going to take them 6 turns to get rid of that unit.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think they even need to be stretched out.
Yeah. It's just, and then target priorities and other things. So everyone will assume that the first thing you have to kill is the biggest, nastiest, scary thing on the list. So, for example, Seraphon. Oh, there's Croak. I have to kill him. If you go after Croak with KO, you're dead. Because you have to go so close just to get enough shots to put him to. So it doesn't matter if you kill him or not. Everything else is going to kill you because you're too close.
Yeah, unless they have so much stuff off the board that you can stop and bring it on. But if they've done that and not screened off properly, then
that's the case I was saying. If they fuck up, then jump on it. Yeah. Because then you start using that against them. Because then you get your Sky Ward coming down by hits. So even if they come down, they're not in range. If they teleport, you're not hitting anything. You can kill those 3 Sky Wardens and that's it. But yeah, if you're first in army, say Croak's sitting in that building of his and he's fully buffed out the wazoo, just leave him alone.
Yeah.
Work out what his microwave range is and just skirt it. So he's doing the 3 units, take D3 mortal wounds. You can live with that. If he hits your boats, you heal it. If he hits your heroes, KO probably one of those armies that don't really care. Because if you need reroll hits, you'll just use the gold.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. Just things like that.
So, what sort of things are you targeting if you're not going for the big scary?
So with the likes of Seraphon, which have a lot of units, it'll be the chaff first of all.
Yeah.
Simply because that's what's scoring. He'll just teleport them onto objectives. If you wait till he's on the objective to score it, you'll kill it with shooting, which means you're not charging it, which means he'll just summon straight back onto it. And then next turn, you'll find yourself in the exact same boat. So get rid of the chaff, get rid of the things that he has lots of, rather than what's doing the most damage. Because if you're skirting, he's not really doing that much damage, because if Croak's in that building, he's not moving.
Yeah.
The likes of Daughters of Cain, ignore the cauldrons. They're -1 to hit. They've got the 5 up, 5 up. They've got their armor save. You're just going to waste a whole load of shots. Just try and draw the units out as far away as possible. If they start stringing the units out, because what they always do is they want to be within range of that cauldron. So they'll string out, but they'll stay in range of the cauldron, which means you can engage them closer without them, hitting you with 300 attacks. It might be 15 to 20 that you can live with. Slayers, it'll depend. Do they have the wallop? Because that'll depend what you can and can't shoot. A lot of people say shoot the heroes. I don't even bother half the time. You waste a lot of firepower shooting them. Yeah,
because it's less efficient.
They'll have the -1 to hit. They're passing off onto the Auric Guard. The buffs are already up, so even if you kill them, the Hearth Guard is still on, 3 up save, whatever. So just shoot the Hearth Guard. The Hearth card is what does the damage. Yeah, they're fully buffed, but just go with
it. They're also what's putting numbers onto the objectives. So,
yeah, so if it's Vostrag, you can happily go 18 inches away and they can't touch you. If it's Hermdar, if it's Vostrag, they can run and charge, but they're not immune to battle shock.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make them use their command points on the battle shock, they don't have them for anything else.
Which means they don't have it for running.
For the likes of cities, the key units, first of all, will be their shooting units. So they'll be the ones that does the most threat. So the likes of handgunners don't look that scary in paper until you decide to ignore them. And all of a sudden, you're taking maybe 4 or 5 wins a turn, and that's their chaff. And then they start casting magic at you as well, and all of a sudden you've 3 spells that do area effect on the Ironclad, and all of a sudden every unit in there is taking 3d3 mortal wounds or something like that there.
Yeah.
Then you start feeling it. So skirt around, get rid of the handgunners, or if they have Phoenix Guard, let them string them out. The more they string out those Phoenix Guard, the better, because a 4-up sounds scary until you hit them around 2. Then they have essentially a 6, or they have a 4-up.
What do you think about? What would you target in Lumineth now that they're coming out?
So Lumineth is an awkward one because I haven't actually looked at the book yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Everyone here is Tackless and Sentinels. So I've seen the list floating around of 80 Sentinels, and they're like, "Oh, I'll just mortal wound anything off the table." So when you actually think about them on the table, good luck getting 80 in range.
Yeah.
So the Ironclad, that's where the high drops come in handy. Wait for him to put his Sentinels down, counter deploy. He might hit you with maybe no, he might hit you with a full unit, but he's not doing 18 mortal wounds to you.
Yeah.
The difference is you can kill 80.
Yeah. And the thing is, if he doesn't spread them out like one unit, then it leaves you somewhere where you can deploy.
Yeah, 100%.
Where there aren't any.
So that's one of the ones he's relying solely on that, but you're not putting anything fancy down until he's revealed where he's going.
Yeah.
So if he's deploying like that, he's getting 1 unit in, and you'll just delete them and then move, delete them, move, delete them. Problem solved. So it's again, you're controlling the flow of the game, not him. He's relying on jank. You're relying on a book full of rules.
Yeah.
If you can get 3 Skywarns into them, watch them cry. Well, I do mortal wounds to 5 up, and what?
Yeah, if you put the units close enough together, you can actually potentially tie up 2 units with 1 unit Sky Wardens.
I will happily chuck a gun hole into that.
Yeah, because
drop mortal wounds onto it. Reroll saves. You go over here for days, mate. Oh, you used your spells to get your mortal wounds you're shooting. Oh, you've killed it. Sweet, you killed 130 points.
Yeah.
Then the Ironclad steps in with everything in it, and just things they got there. Look at what your opponent can do and use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Don't rely on one tactic, because I get quite a lot of people DMing me and going, "How do you deploy?" Or "What do you do with this?" And it's like, well, that'll change per game. You shouldn't have one deployment. You shouldn't have one tactic, because every army plays differently. Every player plays the army slightly differently.
You should need to have the flexibility to deploy.
Yeah, so the way I write all my armies is look at the current sort of 60% of lists what you're going to see at a tournament. If 2 of 3 of them are a no-go, scrap the list. Just don't even bother. So like at 6 days, and that's the way we see it. So we have 8 players. You maybe have 3 or 4 of them that will be flat out aggro. That's all they do. And they will be there to pair into 3 lists that either get bust or are going, right, we'll take that just to get the win of the parents. Then you'll have maybe 3 or 4 lists that are all comers, so they can be offensive, they can be defensive, or they can be just so defensive or offensive that they just become a pain in the ass to deal with. So gets Nurgle, KO if you run it right. And then you have the rest of the list are super defensive, where all they do is defense. They are there for the minor wins, the draws. They're just going to grind it out. Absolute bollocks to deal with. And that's the ones your super aggros are going to be paired into. So if someone puts down, say, an attack E list, as first attacker, your first defenders will be, say, Fire Slayers and Nurgle.
Yeah.
Go, I see your is, and I go, no.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone puts down like a Lumineth list, which will have like a mix of here's my sentinels, here's my horses, or OBR, half sentinels, half cavalry, half more tech. You could put KO into that and go, right, we're going to skirmish, we're going to aim for the minor win or the draw, but if we get the chance to go for the major, we'll go for it. Instead of putting an army in there that's just going to auto lose. So it's sort of, you shouldn't have more than 2 hard counters.
Yeah.
In the current meta. If you do, there's no point you even going, because a lot of people will just go, right, I got a net list. So a new army's out. I'll wait 2 weeks. Right, what's everyone come up with? I'll take that. So they might not even know how to use it. They're just saying, that person's won 10 games with that. I'm going to use it.
They might not even played it.
Why am I not winning? That guy won. It's like, well, what were you doing? Oh, I did this. Well, that's not what he did.
Yeah.
So that's where you fall in that trap of, what was your tactic? How did you deploy? Because it could be a guy in America and their meta is completely different to ours, over here in the UK. Some of the less they come out with, you're like, you what?
Yeah.
So really on your current meta and your own playstyle as well.
Oh yeah, I mean your playstyle comes into it massively.
So I see a lot of people saying they want the alpha. Well, if you want the alpha, just don't go near my stuff because it doesn't alpha. Question regarding the Iron Sky attack squad. I don't think they can.
No, I would say no to that as well, because
I know a lot of people here say they can. I think the way it's worded, they can't.
Yeah. Because flying transport lists fly high and move separately. It's 2 different things, 2 different reasons why you can't get out of the ship. And then the Iron Sky attack squadron ability only lists movement as like you can get out after you've moved. It doesn't say you can get out after you've flown.
Yeah, so Zelfin can fly high, then move, then get out.
Yeah.
But I can't see any other way that you can fly high and get out, except maybe Mornar.
Yeah. Well, it's with the redeploy.
Yeah, because it says they can't make a normal move, whereas the Iron Sky sort of. But even then, I wouldn't rely on it.
So do you find, like you said about being flexible with your deployment, do you find that a lot of the time your ship is going in a corner though, just to be defensive?
At Warlords, every game it went in the corner.
Yeah.
At Heat 1, they were very much front and center. They weren't like in your face, but they weren't in a corner either. At the finals, none of them were in a corner. It was because being in the corner gives you a certain amount of protection, but it only goes so far. It depends where the terrain is, and the terrain can't be within 6 inches of the board edge.
Yeah.
So it could be some really good pieces of terrain. Like, I'm not talking about terrain effects. I'm talking about the actual
something that's going to block charging and shooting and
stuff. We've been to Blood Tithe, for example, every year. Now they'll have more pieces of terrain on the table than normal, but they tend to be smaller and not very high. So for KO, they don't provide a lot. The likes of Bobo or down south, in the Republic of Ireland, they tend to like lots of big terrain, but not as many on the table. So you can use that to keep people away, but get closer or get the height stuff like that. Fly high is instead of a normal move.
Yeah, so Hell Jumpers basically asked if disengage ability allows fly high as a normal move, but fly high is instead of a normal move. It's not a normal. It's not actually a normal move itself.
Yeah, the instead of is the important part there.
Yeah.
The keyword without being a keyword.
Yes. Maybe it should be. Maybe
it's the old argument with long strikes.
Yeah.
If you haven't moved in the previous turn, do you get the plus 6 inch range? Well, no, because you haven't had a movement phase to give up.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you say we've pretty much covered everything now?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you could almost, like, if you start talking about matchups and that, you could almost, like, you.
Go on for days.
It sounds like you've got a wealth of knowledge.
That's to say, so we aim a lot of our lists here for team tournaments.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's designed for, I'll not go full in a jank, or I'll not rely on too much of one thing. Because you might not have a choice. You might have a choice of two evils. Which one do you pick? But if you lean too hard on one thing, you might not be able to take either. Yeah. Team tournaments are the future of AOS. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Good crack.
I've yet to play in one, but they do sound like good fun.
You definitely should. Highly recommend it. Changes the whole dynamic as well. So you approach list building differently. Whereas in the singles event, you're like, yeah, I can super swing into one jank and hope for the best, and maybe 5 out of 10 times it'll go your way. Whereas at a team tournament, if you lean too heavily one way, you're going to get shafted. 3 out of 5 games. If you listen to some of Darren Watson stuff on team tournaments, that's really good. His sort of mindset. He tends to go super defensive, but minimum 3 drop.
Yeah.
So that he knows he can go into a game, he can set the tone, he can control the flow, he can say, right, you're going there, I'm going to force you to do this. If I come up to against an opponent, I can't do that. Well, I'm just going to do this, and just sort of keep you there.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Do you think part of the problem with singles events is, I hear a lot of people talking about, you go to a tournament and a lot of it depends on matchups. And do you think it's because people are writing those sorts of lists that it does a thing and it does it very well?
So people tend to skew towards the new sectionists or the new net list that's winning tournaments. So say you're submitting your list on the last 2 tournaments, X person has won the tournament with this list that you play that army. A lot of people seem to think, if I run that, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And then you find that you go to said tournament and that doesn't happen. So a lot of people give off about KO being broken even before the new book. The problem was when people start relying on 2 terror guys being their whole army, or super hero bunkers that just buff the wazoo, KO start to come back, because KO are one of the armies that just go, I don't care about that, I ain't gonna let them. So KO are at their peak when people netlist, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you have so many tools, you have so many guns, you have so much Ren 2, Ren 3, Ren 1, everything bar Arcanauts shooting as Ren 1 at least. You can do all that, whereas other armies can't. So you'll find that 80% of lists at a tournament will skew into this category, and then KO will be in this category, which directly counters 80% of the lists at a tournament. So they go 5 games and counter all of them, because you maybe played 3 Gristlegore, a Slaanesh, and then a Deepkin or something, something like that there that all does the exact same thing, and you've skewed your list to fight that. But when people start going, right, shooting's too prevalent, and they start bringing like anti-shooting, or relying less on heroes and bringing more units, more MSU, stuff like that there, well, then KO drop down in potential, because all of a sudden you're like, fuck, I've got all this damage. I overkill a lot. The problem is I'm overkilling 3-man units, or I'm killing those heroes, but they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
So it's sort of look at the greater what you're seeing in your area, because there's one thing looking at tournaments, say in North England and you're in the South, it's a completely different meta.
Yeah.
Another thing is we notice here. So when we play tournaments here, we're smaller in number. You're looking at when we play in the club, you're looking at 28 tables pre-COVID. When Paul Bastion runs his events, you're looking, I guess, 60 something, 64. So it's not quite as high as in England, but I found that when I play over in England, you go to an event, there's 100 people. 30 of those people are like super competitive. Like they are there with like the latest dirt. They're there to win. And then the rest of the lists are either there, with a semi-competitive list there to have fun, or with a proper competitive list and don't know how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're over there, even when you get a bad matchup, it's not necessarily a bad matchup. Whereas over here, where there's 28 people, 20 of them are running the super dirt and know how to use it.
Yeah.
You're like there's no such thing as an easy matchup over here. It's just straight hands on deck. Every move you have to do will either win you or lose the game if you forget to do it. Yes, it just depends on your own meta. You'll know yourself if you look around at the tournaments you've been to locally.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more relaxed? Is it the latest net list? Is it the latest armies, or is it I've played this since Fantasy? I'm really good with it, but it's not the best, but I'm really good with it. That sort of thing. It'll depend on yourself, on your own sort of local meta. Because just because someone has the newest army with all the broken rules, if someone's played, Tim Kings, for example, since they first came out, there's a good chance they're going to win just because they know their army better than you do.
Yeah.
They can do all these little fancy tricks that you didn't expect coming. You got all your skills, your movement 4, and then you forget the auto charge 6 inches.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they capture all your objectives. Just we things like that.
Cool. So yeah, like I think we covered everything now. Really well, not everything under the sun, obviously, but I'd love to have you back on the show again another time at some point, because it sounds like you've got a huge wealth of knowledge about the game.
I try.
Yeah, I feel like you'd bring in some valuable insight on a number of different subjects. So it'd be great to have you on again. I hope people have enjoyed the show and finding out how Dave plays. 3 different lists and 1 bonus KO list that wasn't his. But it kind of was, because it was copied almost, but changed.
Messed up.
Yeah. So if you do like the show, then hit like, subscribe, bell icon, all that sort of stuff. Leave us some comments. And thank everyone for watching. Thank you very much for joining me, Dave.
Thank you for having me.
Have you got anything you want to plug, or anything you want to? Do you want to? Anything you want to promote?
If you get a chance to get any events over here in Northern Ireland, I highly recommend it. Paul Bastion is sort of our biggest event organizer here. Runs 2 a year, 1 team event. Now it's all sold out. It's in February, but he normally runs a singles sort of September time. Definitely recommend it. It's always good crack.
What's the best way to find that? Is it to look for Paul, or is the tournament always have the same name?
So it's under Bastion Games. He runs for a term, but he shares it on the likes of Honest Wargamer or all the Facebook and I suppose Twitter. I don't use Twitter. I don't know. But yeah, it's quite well spread. But if you get a chance to go. Even if you don't enjoy the competitive side, because the likes of we get teams from England come over just to have the drink.
Yeah.
Drink all dice.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank everyone for watching.